What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Metaphysics Mike. And if you're new here, I want to say welcome. Bold of you to come and stop by a Unitarian Heretics YouTube channel. Because let me tell you, the way I've been treated recently is crazy. Folks, if you're Unitarian or you hold some other unorthodox positions, it's a rough world on social media. The climate right now is so driven by clickbait and all the different titles and thumbnails and really the controversies. And while, hey, I think there's a place to lean into rivalries to call people out, I think some people take it too far. And, not even just a way of being rude or mean or, even some other things out there. It's the bigger problem is the character, it's the values, it's the representation of Christ. That's what too often gets destroyed in the world of Christian apologetics. That, the witness. Folks, what is Christianity about? What are we doing? Are we just sitting here bickering back and forth, sitting on the sidelines, watching the world burn? Or do we have a calling that's higher than all the base level, surface level nonsense, the pointless contentions and controversies? Are we called to something deeper, something greater? Dare I say it, will we respond to the call, the command to love? How crazy is that? You ever thought about that? God commands us to love, but love is something that can only be done upon free will. Whoa, right? Isn't that why we say God didn't want to just make robots? Because he wanted people truly capable of love. Well, how interesting, we're commanded. He's commanding us. We have to take our free will and guide it into love, into fruitful discussions and debates. And that doesn't mean we can't have some fun with clickbait, but we have to keep what's most important. Amen? Because here's the reality. The greatness of our God, the God of the Bible, is really not in the complexities of his being. It's in the simplicity of who he is. What that means is that it's not like it doesn't matter that God is self-existing. How does that work, right? Like if you could create a never-ending source of energy, you'd be a rich man. But somehow God is self-existing. That's incredible to think about. But that's not really why he's great. The reason he's great is because of who he is in his character, his virtues. I mean, imagine if God was a tyrant. Imagine if God was ruthless. If he was unjust. These things could destroy anybody. I mean, imagine, there's a lot of people who do great things, but inwardly are disgusting, but inwardly are sinful. And in a real willful type of way. Man, there's so much wickedness out there that we have to deal with nowadays. Imagine if that was God, right? It would just destroy everything. No, the greatness of God is in the simplicity of who he is, which was revealed by Jesus Christ. Whether you are a Trinitarian or a Unitarian, that's the reality. That's the power in the gospel. Folks, when Jesus came and proclaimed the coming of the kingdom of God, it was a call to repentance, to be like him as he perfectly embodied who God is. Jesus was proclaimed sinless. Amazing. That's the greatness of God. That's the greatness in the Messiah. That's what we are called to. It's not in, can I come up with a proper model of God regarding his being, regarding the relationship between the hypostases, to be able to fathom the doctrine of inseparable operations and expound upon the hypostatic union. You know what this is? I'll tell you what this is. This is what Paul was talking about in Colossians chapter 2, where he says, see to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to what? Human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of this world, and not according to Christ. Trinitarianism is fueled by human tradition on what you can say, on the words you can and cannot use. It is extremely rigid, and when you fall outside the lines, you get smacked. What's that quote? That Japanese quote? How's it go? The nail that sticks out gets hammered. To Timothy, it says, "O Timothy, guard the deposit entrusted to you. Avoid irreverent babble and contradictions of what is falsely called knowledge." Wow. That's pretty powerful. Falsely called knowledge. That's Trinitarianism. Nor those who devote themselves to myth and endless genealogies, which promote speculations rather than stewardship from God that is by faith. You see, again, what's the problem here? It's that things get moved away from Christ. They get moved away from the weightier matters of our faith, of how we're supposed to live. Trinitarianism sucks the life out of honest pursuit of God and throws it into thousands of years of creeds, councils, and commentary by Greek philosophers, none of which we can talk to. That we could be like, hey, what did you mean when you said this? What do you think about the writings that come hundreds of years before and after you? This whole false peddled narrative that just, they've been teaching the same thing since forever. What? I mean, it's so much speculation. That's what that does. The endless genealogies. You know, I made a meme the other day. There's this place where when the Pharisees were challenged on the Bible, they're like, we have our father Abraham. We're descended from Abraham. We must be right. I can trace my lineage back to the father of faith, Jesus. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like all these dudes out here being like, we have apostolic succession. We must be right. I could trace my lineage back to Peter. Oh, congrats. All right, that means absolutely nothing. God is able from the stones, okay, to raise up children, to raise up apostles. Honestly, what are we doing? It's honestly kind of tough lately for me because I genuinely care. And man, at times people get to me. They definitely bother me. And I guess I just expect a lot. I expect a lot from these guys. If you call yourself a Christian apologist and you're not, I don't know, telling the truth, yeah, that's pretty frustrating. And in today's video, we're going to be opening up the panel to debate whether the Trinity is logical or not. But I want to start with an example. Yeah, guys, we are going to go ahead and review an engagement I had with a Christian apologist named BearTheImage. But first, you know, I want to send a shout out to my channel members. I just want to take a moment again to thank you for supporting my channel, for supporting my work. You mean so much to me. I also have a bunch of new merch that I've dropped out. Some of it's more in your face than others. Remember, it can be superficial. It's really about who you are. You don't want to be wearing a shirt promoting Unitarianism if you're just cussing and screaming and being rude to people all the time. You know, but don't wear it, please. You'll make us look bad. Right? So, but what you can do is you can pair with your honest, genuine faith some clothing that can display that can start good conversations. If you want to check it out, visit onegodmerch.com. I so appreciate it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring up chat. Where are we at? Let me see it. IBM Muhammad. Yo, what's up, Mike? What's going on? Thanks for joining. Sig G says Mike is like Roy Jones Jr. when it comes to destroying the Trinity. Pound for pound, the best ever. Hey, I appreciate that a lot, man. Thank you. User says love you, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know you. Love you too. Thomas says love your Wednesday lives. Thanks for coming by again, Thomas. Eric says, thanks for what you do. I really appreciate it, guys. Oh, we got Johannes in the chat. What's up, man? How you doing? God bless. I appreciate that. I got a video on my channel with Johannes. We had a great conversation about relative identity. I learned as well in my discussion with him. You could check that out if you wanted. We got Love and Blade. He says, do you consider Jesus as being your Lord? Absolutely. 100%. Want to make sure these are displaying on, right? Perfect. Okay. So let's begin by first just reviewing this exchange, because it's going to be a great example of the type of this thing that I'm talking about, what's sort of tough to deal with. There's so many different narratives constantly peddled, which are false. Let's check this one out with BearTheImage. All right, let's listen in. Here's the first video. Here's what happened first. Everybody sees everything that happened later. Yeah, this is what led up to it. You're going to love this. Here's this video. Listen to what he says.
If there are things you don't know, can you be all-knowing?
Nope.
Okay. And are there things Jesus says he doesn't know?
Not in cognitive knowledge. He just says he doesn't know, which means to reveal, if you look at the Greek.
Okay, folks, first claim. Does this look familiar to any of you? Yeah, we made a video response to this. Just completely wrecked his position. He said that oiden, to know, where it says Jesus doesn't know the day and hour. Mark 13:32, Matthew, 24:36, right? Something like that. So actually, that's exactly what the word means. And we're going to call him out, but there's the claim. He said it. He's going to change that in these later videos, but you know.
Are there things that Jesus says he doesn't know?
He says that he doesn't reveal, and it's translated into English too, that he doesn't know. But if you look at the Greek, it's to reveal. The word oiden is a revelation, not a cognitive knowledge.
All right, folks, that's BearTheImage's argument. That's what it was. That's what it was. And then what did we do? We called them out for it. Hard facts.
And are there things Jesus says he doesn't know?
Not in cognitive knowledge. He just says he doesn't know, which means to reveal. But if you look at the Greek, it's to reveal. The word oiden is a revelation, not a cognitive knowledge.
This is a blatant perpetuated lie. If we look up the Greek word know in the BDAG, the first definition is to have information about, and where they cite the verses in question, they put again to know something.
Boom, done. Done. All right, it's over. Claim. The word to know actually means to reveal. It is not a cognitive knowledge. So what we do, we pulled up the best Greek English lexicon in existence and showed actually that's what it means, to know something. Okay, that was it. That's all we really needed, right? And most people did not catch this next one, but he actually responded, and you know, he tried to say that he got it wrong, but you know, his pride was sort of getting to him. He really wouldn't say it. He like kind of beats around the bush a bit. But watch. This is the best concession you could possibly get right here.
Jesus says he doesn't know?
Not in cognitive knowledge. He just says he doesn't know, which means to reveal. But if you look
That sounds kind of low to me.
the word oiden is a revelation, not a cognitive knowledge.
This is a blatant perpetuated lie. If we look up the Greek word know in the BDAG, the first definition is to have information about, and where they cite the verses in question, they put again to know something. Be intimately acquainted with, to know, understand, to grasp the meaning of something, to remember, recollect, to recognize. Notice how to reveal just isn't a definition of the word. This creator is just wrong.
More and more people are responding to my videos. Glory to God, that means these videos are getting out. So thank you guys. Super grateful. Now I'm going to address this, what he was saying. And to be fair, I did overstate something.
Oh,
I
all
did
right.
say
There. Awesome, right? Thank you so much. You've got to respect that. I did overstate something. You know, we appreciate it. Man, that's tough to come by. So you got to pay respect to Bear for that. Absolutely. But then he kind of steals all that thunder, though. Watch. Let's continue.
Then means to reveal in the Greek. And that's a bit of an overstatement if I don't qualify it.
So all right. So I was wrong, but actually I'm right if I qualify it. Okay, let's see. What's your qualifier?
And in that conversation, I wasn't going to qualify anything. That person, if you saw the actual full conversation, was aggressive from the start and was not willing to listen to many of my responses.
Could be a valid excuse. We don't know for sure, but if that's what he says, we'll just take his word for it. Yeah, right? Well, I should have provided it, but I didn't because this guy is.
Now, I say in the video that oiden is a revelation, not a cognitive knowledge. And I do stand by that, but I need to qualify it a little bit more.
Yeah, we got that.
When you go to the interlinear, like I said in the video, there's the word right there, oiden, right there. You click on that so you can see the definition. And then you see that the very first thing it says is to see, and then to know, etc. Now, the reason why that's important is because there's a bunch of different words for know in the Greek, and this one specifically is tied to a revelation. And if you're
okay, folks, if you didn't catch what just happened, okay, he's taking as to see as a hint to his statement that it means to reveal. So right off the jump, reveal and to see don't mean the same thing. Right? He has to try and justify it. He's trying to come up with a way. And so what he starts to do is pontificate over this term to see, which by the way is just a synonym for knowing or not knowing something. Folks, this is like if I said, I see what you mean. Like, that's a convention actually of the English language because we use the word see in a sense in which the word oiden also would have been used, right? So saying to see is like saying to know. They're synonyms, right? So just to take that word and try and make it something else, he's massaging it, right? He's trying to negotiate with the word. He's just pontificating on this. And it really only gets worse from here. And for the sake of, let's not get repetitious here, I encountered him on a live peddling the same nonsense. That, it's not a cognitive knowledge, right? And he was just really kind of beating up on this guy who wasn't very educated. Like I didn't catch the whole thing, but where I came in, this guy was just struggling, and Bear was like kind of being theatrical about it, like kind of making fun of him, like sort of like, man, how dumb is this guy type of thing. And so I was making food. It was late at night. I don't know if you guys, some of you might have seen my post about this. I was in my kitchen and I said, why not join a bit, take a screenshot. Here's what happened. And he got, of course, disproved again and then posted it. This man posted the clip of him losing. And I mean, like, I always wonder how charitable I should really be or how I talk about this. Like, because I don't want to call him dumb or stupid, right? These are real people, by the way. Looking through his page, it looks like he got married recently. Congratulations to him. We gotta love these guys. But like, the frustration is so real. Let's just watch it. Oh man, here we go.
But I still think it denies the normal definition of the word.
Okay, well, I didn't make the claim that the normal definition doesn't mean that. That was the whole that was the whole point of what you agree with me on.
You said that oiden does not mean a cognitive knowledge. That was your claim.
No,
and that
it
was
wasn't.
refuted by the BDAG. Host,
No.
if you can put me up on the big screen.
No, he said no. Is that no? That's not his claim. Shall we hear him say it again, folks? Shall we?
If there are things you don't know, can you be all knowing?
Nope.
Okay. And are there things Jesus says he doesn't know?
Not in cognitive knowledge. He just says he doesn't know, which means to reveal. If you look at the Greek.
There it was, and he says it another
Are there
time.
things that Jesus says he doesn't know?
Right here.
He says that he doesn't reveal, and it's translated into English too, that he doesn't know. But if you look at the Greek, it's to reveal. The word oiden is a revelation, not a cognitive knowledge.
Okay, so but one more time.
And that was refuted by the BDAG.
That was the whole point of what you
What's my
reading.
claim?
You said that oiden does not mean a cognitive knowledge. That was your claim.
Yes.
And that was refuted by the BDAG. Host, if you can put me
Yes. Yes, that was your claim. Yes, it was.
up on the big screen.
Debunked.
I'll show you. I'll prove
live.
it to you right now.
Yeah. You gonna play my video afterwards, Mike? Because like I don't want to go back and forth on the video. Because remember on the video, and I could just recap it. On the video, I said that
Imagine posting this clip and thinking that you're winning. This is just amazing to me. The video is titled "Metaphysics Mike Gets Exposed." Bruh. What? Oh my gosh. Mary's Need, thank you for the $49 super chat. That means so much. What a W gift. Is that displaying? Yes, there we go at the top. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you, Mary. Hattori, thank you for the $5 super chat. Also very appreciated. He says, Mike, good evening. Wondering if you can come up and we can discuss the subject of Isaiah 53 whenever you have time. So if you want to connect that to the subject of the Trinity when we're done reviewing this, absolutely. You're welcome to come. But we are focused on the Trinity, you know? All right, let's continue, right? Metaphysics Mike gets exposed. Yeah, okay.
oversimplified the argument when I was talking to that person.
Yeah, and I appreciated that a lot.
Okay. So then what did I say in the regular video? And this is what I've been explaining to Jay. I don't hold that the definition means exactly that, but that is what Jesus
Not anymore. Okay, here we go.
No, I don't know.
Matthew 24:36.
Yeah.
No one knows the hour. Okay, not even the angels nor the Son.
Yeah.
The definition of this word, okay, is to have information about, to know, and specifically
through what?
And specifically, where this puts it, where it cites this specific.
Through what? Can you pull up the definition again? Because it's right there.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the second part. Here we go.
You know, I screenshot it from the BDAG. I have it on my phone, and it takes 30 seconds. Let's smoke them right now.
Oh, right where your head is. You're blocking it.
Every time I keep trying to cover, there we go. So you notice how it cites the verse there, Matthew 24:36, and it says to know something. Okay, so the word means to know. That's what the word means
through what?
In the dictionary. So can you provide one lexicon?
Like, are you just ignoring? Am I muted or something?
No does not mean some type of cognitive knowledge.
Okay, so listen, this is a debater's tactic where instead of answering a question like they should do, right? He's making claims. The title of this debate stream, you can't see it here, but the title is Jesus Knows the Hour. That's what this stream was about. That's what they were discussing and debating, okay? So I come in and say, well, hey, the word for know is oiden, and actually it means to know, not to reveal, not to make known. And instead of addressing that or in giving a counter lexicon, that's what I asked for. Can you do that? Instead, he's going to act like I'm not addressing him. Yeah, that's why I'm here. You're saying Jesus knows. I'm saying he's not. So it's a debater's tactic to just avoid what you're saying and try and make you get on the offense. Now, I'm really nice. So I of course, am going to eventually engage with this point and keep dunking. Let's listen.
Mike, if you're going to ignore my question, bro, this is going to go bad for you, bro.
So what do you mean? You're ignoring my question.
No, I'm not. I'm clarifying. It's a knowledge through what? You're not giving the whole information.
Knowledge through what? The mind.
Okay, bro.
A
Let me just go
cognitive
through that.
knowledge.
Hey, Jay, can you actually, you know what? Let me get on my computer. Let me just fry this guy, okay? Because even in your video, you were covering up on the B.
He's clearly struggling.
Like what chapter and verse, Mike? Was the book?
This dude was hooting and hollering and laughing at this Muslim in this live. Just, oh, I mean, how ridiculous these guys are. Hardy har har. I come in and he's like, you're just. This dude is struggling.
Listen. This is very simple. I don't know why you're laughing and walking all over the place. You're claiming that Jesus actually knows, but the definition of the word know literally means to have information about.
Done.
So, and there you go talking over me again, Bear. So Jesus does not have the information. That's what the word know means.
Okay.
Mike, what book, chapter, and verse, please?
Matthew 24:36. I'm citing the BDAG, which is the Greek English lexicon of the New Testament.
Like,
This is in a
we still don't have an answer. And you know, there were portions that he cut out here. He cut out a spot where we waited for like 30 seconds to a minute. He was like, okay, well, just let me go do something. he was trying to figure out the argument. He's like, where do I go from here? I don't know. Yo, Kingdom Seekers, 1973. What's up, man? He says, hey, Mike, have you jumped on GodLogic's live to discuss the Trinity? You know, earlier today I joined his live, and I just can only wait for so long. He goes live right about the end of my workday, and so I can really only wait until my family gets home, and then I should really go be with them. So, no, I haven't, but I'm hoping I'll catch him eventually. And, yo, I'm really looking forward to checking out your document or your response to the documentary Christspiracy. I saw that post. I'm really looking forward to checking that out. That was done by, oh my gosh, why is his name slipping me right now? Cam Waters. I've been speaking with Cam via text, him, me, and some of his other crew. So I'd love to check that out. But here, let's keep going.
authority. This is the most widely used lexicon by scholarship.
Give me a second. My laptop's loading up.
Bingo, right there. You see, look, it cites it. Matthew 24:36. To know, to have information. And that's the specific citation.
Look at what it says. Can you see it? The hover. Maybe if I remove my camera for a moment. Look at this. He labeled this part of the debate. He doubles down on lexicons. Yeah, that's kind of what it means to learn what the word means in the Greek. You use a lexicon like you're busy trying to do and failing.
Okay, if you look at the general, it falls under definition 1, to have information about. Okay, so what the host says, Jesus knows the hour, what Bears claims is false. Completely false. All right, so can you show me one lexicon, one, which says that the word know can refer to anything else but having information about something?
Give me 1 second. My laptop's done.
The Grow Bro says Jay Dyer could explain to you why and how it's logical. Bro, Jay Dyer's gonna hit you with the same nonsense, which was born out through Middle Platonic debates, through the syncretic tradition. Okay, he is not special. He's not gonna give you. He's not. He's going to give you the same stuff that can be debunked, just like the same things everyone else says, okay? And I joined his live once, spoke with him, and I'm very cool and cordial, and he blocked me.
Got him!
Jay Dyer. I love Jay Dyer, actually, to be honest with you. I'm a fan of Jay, not for his views on EO, but for other things. But man, he is an anomalous person when it comes to the dogma he eats up from the so-called historic church.
Hey Jay, by the way, can you do me a favor on my mod? Can you give me access to all?
Dude, I'm sorry, that's so common, dude. People are always like, so and so knows it. Yeah, go listen to Nick. Go listen to God Logic. They got it figured out. Yeah, they know. It's just they just pass on the burden to someone else. They just outsource knowledge. They're like, I'm sure he gets it. Go talk to them.
Recordings, please. You muted, Jay, by the way.
Still waiting. What's going on? What's wrong, Bear? Well,
Thank you.
just a moment ago you were talking all types of crap. Well,
While we're waiting, I'll go ahead and add in
he's busy short circuiting right now. This guy posted this.
that if Jesus knows, then does that mean that the angels also know? Do they also know? Is when it says no one knows, do all of them also know? Like this guy, look at his thing. It says Jesus knows. He said that no one knows, not the angels nor the Son. So if the Son know, do the angels and everyone else also know?
Dude, silence.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Complete silence. This guy. He had nowhere to go. Listen, it's just quiet.
The angels and everyone else also know?
He's got nothing. He's got nothing. Still waiting.
Okay.
Brother posted that. Okay, I think maybe now I have an argument that I could possibly try and mutter up, you know, because I'm out here saying false things and just got wrecked. Maybe now, searching. Who knows what he was doing in this pause.
When I asked you through what, it's a cognitive knowledge through what? This is the word.
Yeah, you're using Bible Hub. I just showed you a scholarly.
Is he? I still don't even quite understand this. When he's saying through what, is that supposed to mean to see? He's seeing it through sight, right? He knows it through what he sees. Like what's he trying to do? He doesn't even know. He's just pontificating on this term to see. Here, quick, let's look that up. Pontificating. Do you know what this word means? Okay, pontificating refers to expressing opinions in a pompous, dogmatic, or supercilious manner, acting as if one's views are absolute truth. Okay, so he's just, don't you know? Through what? I'm totally making this out clear. No, you aren't getting anywhere.
Lexicon.
You deny this?
No.
No, I'm not denying it. What I'm sure I have a better
because
lexicon than you.
you
Why don't
shouldn't.
you address my lexicon?
I am going to address it as soon as we clarify this. You shouldn't, because this is not a defeater to what you're claiming. But I'm just being very clear because I'm going to show you how this bakes you. But this word is a cognitive knowledge. Ado. That's why.
Oh, okay. This word is a cognitive knowledge. One more time, just for all the people in the back who don't realize that Bear got cooked and changed his views in real time.
Not in cognitive knowledge.
He says it's not a cognitive knowledge twice in this video, but here he is saying
right here it's
that it is a cognitive knowledge.
to what you're claiming. But I'm just being very clear because I'm going to show you how this bakes you.
Right, okay.
But this word is a cognitive knowledge.
Yeah.
Ado.
Thank you
That's
very
why
much.
Right here it says to
Thank
know.
you very much.
But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
through
And
a
in your
specific-
video, you
if you
said the
allow me to
opposite.
finish, Mike, if you allow me to finish, that would be nice.
My bad. You're right. I did cut you
you.
off. Sorry, Bear.
So it is to know, but it's through a specific mechanism as to what to know, which is what? What does it say?
You're talking about seeing. I understand.
you.
This was I told you. You
So
gave
is this a
clarifier.
knowledge? Is this a knowledge through a perception or to be made aware? Or because it doesn't need to be a visual see, it could be something like a revelation or understanding, right?
Of course, that's what it means.
Thank
like
you.
when somebody says, "I see what you mean."
Exactly right. Okay,
Yeah. So that
you do agree.
changes absolutely nothing. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, yeah. The rhetoric is trash. Now watch this.
It changes nothing. What's that change?
No worries, brother. No worries, Habibi. Relax. We've been doing this all night. We've been.
I
teasing
am
people all
relaxed.
night.
You just got baked by the lexicon. Please, all right. To see.
Do I not sound relaxed in this video? Do I? Do I not sound relaxed?
Got it. All right. How's that
Now,
refute this?
now, Mike, do lexicons give semantical meanings of words?
Yes.
Yes.
No, they don't.
Yes, they
So
do.
if
They,
I say-
dude,
so,
they
Mike, if
include
I
the
say-
entire semantic range of a word.
Okay, one more time. That's one of, I mean, chef's kiss. What did he just say?
Now, Mike, do lexicons give semantical meanings of words?
Yes.
No, they don't.
You serious?
They don't give the full semantic meaning of words. What is this brother on right now? Okay, folks, if we take any of these words, okay, let's go with right here, just philosophy. Let's look it up in the dictionary. Notice how they're going to start to give a wide range of how the word is used. See all these different citations? This is the BDAG. Again, they give even insight from other basically equivalent scholarship level works. So they cite each other. That's how you know you have a good lexicon, is when it's not just all them. They're building on knowledge that's been, gained prior to them. That's how all this stuff works. We just look up these words. Look at this one. This one is, look how much they give in here. A lexicon is going to give you the entire semantic range. Yes, that's what they do. How can this guy think that this is true? Like, that's just one of those things that you should be able to test yourself, right? Do dictionaries give a word's whole semantic use? You can figure that out. There's no excuse for an apologist to not know that. And then to peddle this off like I'm getting dunked on. It's unbelievable. This is the type of stuff that I cannot accept from these so-called Christian apologists. In order to defend your view, you're going to deny that lexicons give the entire semantic range of a word? Dude, what are we on right now? It's unbelievable.
Yes, they do. They include the entire semantic range of a word. Yes.
Yeah. No. So if I say, for example, Mike, let me give an example.
No.
Stop being childish. Stop laughing, and just deal with the
No one's being childish. I just can't believe this is real life. I'm laughing because I can't believe that you, BearTheImage, the great Eastern Orthodox apologist, doesn't know that lexicons give the whole semantic range of a word. Yeah, but, like he said, Metaphysics Mike gets exposed. Okay, got it.
like a mature conversation.
I'm dealing with it right now.
Okay, all right, bro, no worries. Now, if I say you and I are going to compete in something, and I say I'm going to unalive you, the K word, and we are to take every word from my transcript of what I said, and we define the word, the K word, what is it going to say what I meant in that statement, or is it going to say taking a life?
I mean, it's probably going to give you a simple definition, but like my lexicon provided, it gives you the whole semantic range. Shall I pull it up again? Did you just not see that?
Hey, hold on.
Were you not seeing where it shows all the semantic uses of the word?
Do you understand my point? That the context will give you the full semantical range of how this word could be used, correct?
No, wrong. Completely wrong.
Sure, that's fine.
Thank you.
What you have to do is prove.
I'm being so charitable with this man. That's just wrong. I'm like, sure, man, sure. Like, you need to understand, the context determines which meaning within its semantic range a word is being translated. It doesn't dictate the semantic range, right? So in a nutshell, you're not going to find anything in the context that's going to give you a different meaning than a lexicon, than a dictionary. Okay, that's the point.
Doesn't mean that he doesn't know.
And that's what I'm about to do. So when we keep reading, like for example, in Mark 13:32, Be on guard. This is after the verse, right? Where you says he doesn't know the hour.
Correct.
Okay. 33, be on guard, keep awake. Who is he talking to?
His disciples, right?
Exactly. Okay. And then 34. All right, and then be on guard, keep awake, for you do not know when the time will come. Okay, that's 33. 34. It is like a man going on a journey when he leaves home and puts his servants in charge, each with his work, and commands the doorkeeper to stay awake. Now, in this analogy, there's a man with servants. He's the master of the servants. Who are the servants in this parable? Now the chirping ain't happening, Mike. Who are the servants in this parable?
Dude, I'm literally making food right now. I have food on the stove.
Well, I'm actually busy making food. I'm trying to double this here.
Yeah.
I'm reading it.
Now he wants to bake food. No worries, brother.
No, I was baking food the entire time. Entire time.
Servants in this parable. It's okay. You can say it. It's not a trick question.
No, it's
I'm literally reading it. He's showing a passage and saying, who are the servants? So I'm going to read the passage and I'm going to answer, right?
I'm not sure. I'm going to make sure I'm before I answer, right?
Okay, let's go to verse 33.
Is that all right? So is it still the disciples?
Oh, I'll help you, because this is not a gotcha moment. I'm not going to win the debate if you admit this. This is just
admit what? No one's admitting. You asked a question about who are the servants. No, we're not admitting anything. We're just trying to figure out who they are. And I said I think it was the disciples, and I was also right. Thank you very much.
comprehension. So 33, it says, be on guard and keep awake. Who is that giving command to?
So I think I answered that one already, right? The
You
disciples.
did. We're just going to redo it again,
Disciples,
just to help you,
right?
because I'm giving you hints here. Be on guard, keep awake is to
Dude,
who?
you're struggling. You're very straight. You need to give a dictionary
I'm
cites
shivering
the word,
right now.
okay?
I'm shivering. Can you please
you are.
answer?
Okay.
Can you answer the question?
Disciples. The disciples.
Thank you very much. And then here, the servants are given.
Yeah, yep, there it is. Look, Codex Archivist. So context provides definitions of words. Apparently.
The command, the doorkeeper specifically, to stay awake. So in this parable, who are the doorkeepers and the servants?
So I just told you. I think is it still the disciples?
Yes, it is.
Those are the ones that he puts in
I wanna
charge
know
of
what
the
you think.
servants of his home.
I just told
use
you.
your reading comprehension. Who do you think this is?
Can you scroll out a little bit? Let me see the whole thing.
Bro, we can hear you typing. Stop.
Typing?
Hear
Stop
me
typing
typing,
and
dude.
answer the
I'm
question.
in my kitchen
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
Okay,
What are
answer
you
the
talking
question.
about?
Answer the question.
What are you talking?
Dude, I'm literally answering it, and he keeps basically just re-asking me. You notice, listen, this is what apologists do when they're losing, right? This is very simple. The stream is Jesus knows the hour. I bring up a lexicon that says the word know means mental knowledge, not to reveal or declare. Okay, how do you answer that? So far we've got, oh, well, he knows through to seen because that's what appears first in Bible Hub. That's a synonym for knowing or not knowing. And now we're on to the parable. Who are the servants? I think it's the disciples, isn't it? None of this is going to, one, address what I'm saying, right? Two, because you're not actually going to learn a different definition of a word from the quote context, right? This is the conclusion, just in search of an argument, right? We're just, there's a word for this, waffling. That's it. He's just waffling.
Answer the question.
Move the
Who
phone out a
who
little
are
bit
these people?
so that I can read the thing.
Who are these people, brother? Who?
Already answered, the apostles, right? He's just focusing on, he's waffling over the servants.
Yeah, so I already answered you. I said, is it still the disciples, or are they still the one he's
No, that's not an
speaking
answer.
to?
That's asking me a question. Who do you think it is?
Yeah. That's correct. So I'm trying to work with you here. Can you pull it out so I can see the whole thing?
Just to be clear,
Dude, I have sometimes I think my intentions are almost too good. Because he keeps asking me the same question when I have already 3 times now been like, I think it's the disciples, right? And instead of him just being like, yes, it's the disciples, and then moving on with his argument, instead he's got to sit here and just be like, oh, well, I want this definitive, it's the disciples. What is going on right now? This is waffling. This was when it makes it hard. Like I was saying at the beginning, this is why it's hard.
I just want to be clear. You agree with me that this is the disciples, correct?
Yes, and what's that have to, we're finally here. What's that change?
Sure. Yeah, I'll say sure.
Who's the man going on a journey?
Probably Jesus, and right, he's getting ready to go away.
Beautiful. So Jesus is the master, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 35. Therefore,
oh,
beautiful. So
hear that
Jesus
again.
is the master, right?
Here we go. And this is the whole place he was either going to from the beginning or just figuring out as he goes along. It really is sort of hard to tell how to tell, but Jesus is the master. This is the substance of his rebuttal to what I brought up in the lexicon. Let's listen.
Yeah.
Okay. 35. Therefore, stay away.
It only took us, where were we? Right here on the lexicon. So this was at, it showed me the time, 4:02 to 11. It only took 8 minutes to get here for his rebuttal right here.
Awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening or at midnight or when the rooster crows or in the morning. So he's still now talking back to the disciples to stay awake because you do not know when the master of the house is coming. Who's the master of the house?
Jesus.
That's going to still be Jesus, right? He's the master.
Now, in a parable of using masters going back to their homes with servants, does the master not know when he's going to come back home?
No, because Jesus just said he doesn't know.
I just want to know, in a parable, is the master in the parable,
that the Father decides.
In the parable, is there
no.
any scenario that a master will not know when he will come back to his home?
Yes, there is.
Give me a scenario.
There is, because Jesus is the master, and he just confessed that
No. I'm not talking about asserting how you're interpreting this verse.
Anybody knows. Listen,
I'm not talking about how you're asserting the verse.
This is extremely. Listen, what you're trying to do is you're giving a bunch of.
Mike,
why do you keep cutting me off? I let you finish. I'm answering your questions.
No, you're not going to assert the definition. You're not going to assert your interpretation into this.
Assert a definition of the word no. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Practically speaking, is there any scenario that a master would not know when he would come back to his home?
Yes, of course.
Who just muted me? The answer is yes. There is a place. There is a place. Yes. Because Jesus is the master.
Get the hell out of here, bro. Get the hell out of here, bro. Get the hell out of here. Because Jesus doesn't know the hour. So this is the one scenario that I'm trying to assert, bro.
Okay, so how terrible. Can you imagine thinking that you're dunking right here? I mean, it's funny, but it's also sad. I mean, look at some of the people. Like some of these comments, Mike doesn't understand the parable. Why is he so childish? So I don't know what about this is childish. It's genuinely sad. Mike shuffling hard here. How can you not know when you're returning home? That makes no sense. Like, it's genuinely sad that people are deceived by these apologists. Right? That's amazing. So, folks, here's the passage. Right? Jesus just said, concerning that day and hour, no one knows. And the definition of the word know is literally to have information about. And where they cite it, it should be read right here. To know something. To know about something. That's what this means. Jesus says that not only he doesn't know, right? Not only does nobody know, he says not even the angels know. Right? But only the Father. Okay? So Jesus just stated that he doesn't know. And here's the thing. The very next passage is building on that. Right? That's the fact that's very clear. You don't even need to know any of this. None of this has any bearing on what the word knows means in verse 32. And so his whole argument is that, well, Jesus uses a parable where he says a master leaves, puts a servant in charge. And so to stay awake, right? Be alert because you don't know when the master of the house will come. What's the purpose of this parable? The purpose is to draw on the fact that since nobody knows, including Jesus, that we should be ready. That's it. It's got nothing to do with expounding upon, revising, giving greater context to redefine the word know. Right? So this is essentially how he's reading it. He's reading it that, but concerning that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but Jesus is the master, and he actually does know. Right? He takes the parable and uses it to contradict the very clear statement. I mean, when you read the church fathers on this too, they're kind of all over the place. But there are people explicitly endorsing forms of ontological subordination directly because of this. There were no early church fathers reading this and thinking, yeah, Jesus knows because of the following parable. This is just Bear trying to find any way possible to defend the idea that, well, Jesus actually knows. And here's another thing. Jesus, you know what? I think I have these verses up here, don't I? Yeah, check this out. This is from earlier. I didn't even put these up here for now, but Jesus makes all types of explicit statements where basically nothing he does, nothing he says, nothing he commands is of his own authority. In John 5:30, he says, I can do nothing on my own. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not my own will, but the will of him who sent me. That's the Father, right? My teaching is not mine, but from him who sent me. I do not come on my own accord. He who sent me is true. I do not speak on my own authority. So here's the thing. Jesus is the Father's Messiah. He's his chosen, exalted human king. Okay, so really in this parable, the master could probably function really as both Jesus and the Father, right? Because the coming of Jesus represents the rule of the Father, right? The Father commissioned his authority, his ruling, his plan to the Son. He's going to judge the world, right? When Jesus comes back, he's going to rule the earth for 1,000 years. And then in 1 Corinthians 15, it says he's going to give that authority back to the Father, so God may be all in all. It's a very interesting verse. It sort of takes it somewhere else. But the point is that clearly Bear had to change his views. He had to change his views, and now he had to reach based on a parable. And that's what you got to deal with today if you're going to be an apologist on YouTube. You got these guys saying that they're going to expose you, when really they kind of just expose themselves. And so Bear, it was almost a nice try. Almost. But thanks for playing. All right, so what I am going to do now is I'm going to pull up the chat. I'm going to drop in the link to join. We're going to open up the debate panel now to talk about the Trinity and whether it is logical or not. So let's go ahead, start this stage. Come on back. Bring up Discord. Boom. Discord. Boom. Discord. All right. Good stuff. So, if you want to come up and discuss the prompt tonight, which is that the Trinity is logical, feel free to join the Discord. Come on up. I see we got some people already joining. What's up? I think I see Gumbo in there. What's good, Gumbo? Bing Tig says, Mike, but metaphysics, it makes sense about Trinity. I'm not sure I understand that. If you're saying metaphysics makes the Trinity make sense, is that what you're saying? Matthew says, can I join, but I'm not a Trinitite. If you're not a Trinitarian, you probably shouldn't join. Gumbo, if you want to come up, just raise your hand. Jump in there, naysayers, Eric Watson says. Come on up. It is your time, for the price is right. Thanks for being a channel member, Eric. Ben Perret says, what religion is this guy anyways? I'm a Christian, and I believe Unitarianism. That's what the people who wrote the Bible believed. You should too. Mario Meme says, tonight we will laugh at Trinitarians. A few laughs is all right, I think. We got, oh, he's calling him out. He says, join the debate, you big man. That's right, you should. Oh, you know what? Did I pin that? I need to pin that comment, don't I? Yeah. All right, we're going to pin that to the top. Nice. We got EAJ says, what's going on, Mike? What's up? Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Oh, wow, dude. Ode says, Muslims support you to deceive other Christians. No, Muslims will support me because they just agree the Trinity is false. You don't got to judge people's motives like that.
What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's good, Gumbo? How you doing?
Shalom. Pretty good. How are you?
Shalom. I'm well. We're going to see if we can get some Trinitarians up here tonight who want to argue that the Trinity is logical. Did you catch that debate between the Muslim metaphysician and Nick?
Yeah, I did. I caught bits and pieces of it.
What'd you think?
I watched what I watched was particularly when Fan and Jay Dyer and Nick did a response or like a review. That's what I watched.
Okay. What'd you think?
I mean, I think that the critiques that Jake was bringing were like pretty valid and coherent. He didn't really make any arguments particularly, but like we know like his usual like go-to. Like I would say like he's pretty much like does the same thing in every debate. But he really didn't address what Nick was saying, and I was pretty disappointed in some of his lack of knowledge, you know, considering he calls himself like a metaphysician. He doesn't even know like basic logical terms, like identity operators and stuff. I thought it was pretty ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah, you know, I was kind of disappointed too. I posted about it on X. I got some people upset, but I also thought that it just didn't do too well. And you know, it's not. Let me make sure I say this right. So the majority of people listening are not at a level where they're going to understand something that's sort of spread out and not organized. And that's where I sort of thought it was. Like he gave great pieces to refute things Nick was saying, but it was like all over the place. It wasn't really focused. I joined his debate review, Jake, yesterday, and I got to share some of my thoughts with him. Overall, it's just room for improvement. But Nick didn't do that great though either.
No, he really didn't. It wouldn't even like become close to like trying to imply that. He basically just said like, this is our position, the burden of proof is on you, so prove it, right?
Yeah.
Now like the format that he did set up, I didn't even like really read his like syllogism. I don't know if you did, but like I didn't break it down. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. He really didn't like. He didn't provide anything of substance for the debate. Kind of just said like "nuh-uh" or like "show me" or like "define that" or like "prove it" the whole time. You know?
Yeah. You know what? Let's go ahead and let's bring it up. Let's take a look at that while we're at it. So it was on Inspiring Philosophy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's.
But like I do like the critiques that like Jake brought, like the things that he usually says, like he talked about all the things that he brought up with Nick. He talked about with Jay Dyer previously. Like the created birds or the uncreated birds and stuff like that. But like, yeah, I don't know. Just it wasn't an enjoyable debate to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, I felt pretty disappointed. I definitely did. So here, I got this pulled up here. We can take a look at some of it while we wait for any Trinitarians who want to join. We can make comments on it. So I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear it if you're not on YouTube, though. Let me see if I can. If I pull up Discord, let me see if I can.
There should be a way to broadcast what you're broadcasting on YouTube is directly to Discord. It'll be like a box above us. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Nice. Let's make sure you can hear it too.
And also make sure it doesn't echo on
Yeah,
YouTube.
on the stream, right? All right, let's go ahead and listen. You know what? Let's just check out his whole opening statement. It wasn't very long. I think it was like 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, he conceded a good bit of his time.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry for that stutter. That was insane.
It's fine. All right. Let's check this out.
All right. So 10-minute opening statement from Nick. I will start the timer on your first word, and then I'll give you that 1 minute cue. So whenever you're ready.
Cool. All right. Topic of the debate, guys, is the Trinity illogical? I won't make this opening super long, as I'm simply defending my position, showing what it is, etc. Oops, let me go ahead on that. All right, so what does it mean for something to be illogical in the first place? Well, as standardly defined in classical logic, for something to be illogical or logically inconsistent, it means there is no model under which every member is true without it being a contradiction in the set, and that's just classically defined everywhere. You can read that at the SEP, or really any site that has the definitions of classical logic on it.
Okay, so that's not really true though. Okay, so check this out. So if, let's see, how should I frame this? So do models pertain to formal or informal logic? So it's really going to pertain mainly to just formal logic. So that definition really is only regarding things like your syntax, your structure, and form. Okay, so let me just fact check that right now. Do models pertain to formal or informal logic? Models primarily pertain to formal logic. There it is. Okay, so what he just said is not really true, because when he's stating, oh, you know what, it disappears. But I got to keep up Discord so you can see it. Yeah. So when he said that this stinks. I can't really show both on the Discord too. It messes it up. Yeah.
Wait, it's not showing on YouTube?
No, it's not showing on Discord for you. Okay.
Yeah, it is. I can see it.
All right. So, all right. Tell me right now, do you still see it? Can you still?
Oh, it's not playing, is what you're saying. Yeah, I can. It's just like a still frame that I can see.
Oh,
I can't even hear it.
That's even good. I'm not playing it. Okay, so you can see it. All right, I'm confused.
Yeah, I can see it.
Discord doesn't show me the preview, so I don't know that you can actually see it. That's cool. All right, sweet. So listen, when he says, as standardly defined in classical logic, for something to be illogical or logically to be illogical or logically inconsistent, it means there is no model under which every member is true without it being a contradiction in the set. So by appealing to a model, he's really appealing to formal logic. So that's the first problem, and this is also why I said I thought Nick won on X, because he's set the bar as just being formally logical, right? That's the point. If it's formally valid, then it's logical. So the way I would frame this is that, well, that's only half the picture. You also need informal logic. Formal logic pertains only to the form, the structure. Informal logic deals to the content, the truth value of the claims. And that's what it means when we call something sound, is that it's both formally valid and its premises are true. Right? So, in fact, let me just go ahead and bring that up so you guys can fact check me, right? What's the difference between, or no, let's say, what does it mean for something to be logically sound? Ready? What's the answer? A logically sound argument is a deductive argument that is both valid, right? And has true premises. So it's really got to be both. So that's the first mistake I would say right there. Do you have any thoughts up to this point, seeing this?
Yeah, I mean, he's really just like keeping it base level and just strictly saying like, if we can say that within this system or within this model that there's going to be like no like strictly classical like logical contradictions, then you know it doesn't really give much substance to go off of. And that's why like during the cross exams even like it was just really felt slow and boring, like really dragging on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's much more of this to come. But yeah, go ahead.
For sure.
Find everywhere. You can read that at the SEP, or really any site that has the definitions of classical logic on it. Now, given that definition, what my opponent is going to have to show is that the model that I give regarding the Trinity is logically inconsistent and that it actually has an error within it that cannot be solved. A couple of things my opponent cannot do is if my opponent tries to argue about the actual properties of the person, such as what makes the person distinct, or asking how do we discern them, that would fall into error. As logical consistency has to do with the model, it is not concerned with the metaphysics of what actually makes them distinct.
Okay, completely false. This is terrible. This should have been called out from the very beginning. That's not true. Folks, he's saying that his view presupposes no metaphysics about what a person is, about what a being is. But of course it does. Like, the actual argument that we're about to see, he's essentially ascribing predicates to natures. Let's wait till we see his actual argument. I want to make that might be incorrect. I want to wait till I see it again, but it's something like that, right? There's something shifty going on, which is just that it presupposes what a person and what a nature is the point, right? He's saying he doesn't presuppose that. Oh yeah, you do.
I can create a consistent model using first order logic, and he agrees it is consistent. He has conceded the debate that it is logical. If it is metaphysically consistent is another topic. So all this means, guys, is there's a difference between the metaphysics of something and the logic of something. Now, the specific set of statements that are regarding in this which we'll try to model, is going to be there exists an FS and HS, that there are 3 of these, and that they are 1G yet not each other. So this model is saying that the F is obviously going to stand for Father, S, Son, HS, Holy Spirit, etc. And these are 1G. So they're one God, yet they're not the same person. This model is not concerned with the properties of predicates themselves. So what are the properties of F, S, and HS is irrelevant to the actual model, but are instead concerned with if the statement can lead to a consistent model itself.
Okay, so there he just did it again. He's trying to separate any necessary metaphysical precondition to his argument. He's saying this is just about formal validity. And that's a false setup. That's not actually true. I mean, think about it. So I could say that, I use this one a lot. All birds are made of cheese. I'm a bird. Therefore, I'm made of cheese. That is formally logical.
Bruh.
In a strict formal sense, the structure is perfect. The conclusion would follow. Well, what's the problem? The premises aren't true. Right? So birds aren't made of cheese. Okay, so so like when he's saying, when he defines the burden of logical as meeting only formal logic, he's leaving out that it also has to be metaphysically consistent. You can't, like, is he really saying that it's valid but it's not true? No, of course not, right? He wants, the whole point is to say that it is true. So that's just self-defeating. Just being formally logical doesn't get you to the truth value of your claim. So of course it matters what a person is in your view. It matters what a being is in your view. That's what actually indicates what these things mean. In fact, we might as well just show that now. Let's go to that. So later in this, he brings up this argument right here. Okay, so obviously F is saying that's the Father, right? Does not equal the same person as the Son, right? But so what is P? Yeah, we can't just leave that as person. That means something. They have a whole doctrine around what makes a person. A ton of the commentary, especially by the Eastern Fathers, was on what it means to be a person. You have the famous definition by Boethius, right, of an individual subsistence of a rational nature. Right? Is that true? Is there a real distinction between someone's person and their being? Of course it matters. Of course it matters. And by the way, all this is saying, if you were just to read this out, it's essentially just the main two claims of the Trinity, right? That the persons are distinct and not each other, and each person is God. That's literally what this is saying out in notation right here. Okay, so do you have any thoughts on that, Gumbo? You know what I'm talking about, right? You have formal logic.
Yeah.
But you have informal logic, right?
Yeah. So you have, okay. So you have this basic understanding of like what most people would say, oh, that's logical, or oh, you're acting or being illogical. It's just this colloquial understanding of the word. And what that deals with is what we know to be true, right? What like we're presupposing is already the case in the world that we exist in, right?
Yep.
So you can't divorce like what we're saying is true from what like the like actual validity is, because when you're dealing with the validity of an argument, like that form of logic is just a tool that helps us articulate what we already know.
Yes.
Right? To be true, what we're presupposing.
Yeah.
And so since Nick is presupposing this entire metaphysical framework as to what a person is, what a nature is, are these things separable? Are these things, sorry, I don't even know if I can still be heard. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, I can hear you. Yeah, you're good.
And so on and so forth. Yeah. So like, it makes perfect sense when you say, for anybody that's not following what you're saying, that you have the validity of an argument, then you have the truth value of the statements within the argument.
Yeah.
Considering how these truth statements fit within this like model is what's in question during this debate, during the LPT, right? It's not just, is it strictly logical, but is it even true?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is also why formal and informal logic have their own fallacies, right? So if we pull this up here on screen, I just like quickly Googled informal versus informal fallacies. Formal fallacies are structural errors, right? Formal logic deals with the structure and form, right? Whereas informal fallacies are errors in the content, the context or wording of an argument. So let me see. Does it give us some examples? Yeah. Look at this. Okay, so affirming the consequent. If A, then B is true. So this would be like if you said, what's that famous example? So when it is raining, the ground is wet. The ground is wet, therefore it is raining.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What is that? That's affirming the consequent. You're saying all the premises could be true, but it still wouldn't follow because the ground could be wet for other reasons, right? Is the point. So that's a flaw in structure. Whereas in ad hominem, we've heard that one, right? Oh, you're just hitting me with ad homs, right? That's an informal fallacy because it deals with the content. In this case, it's attacking the person instead of their argument, right? So formal logic and informal logic have their own set of fallacies. They deal with a different type of thinking and thought. This is, by the way, this is also the bridge between logic and metaphysics. You'll hear people say, we're just talking about logic, not metaphysics. Sorry, but logic presupposes metaphysics. Okay, because, I mean, statements like I was talking about the hypostatic union. They deal with things called polyadic predicates, which is where they're just going to be connecting different things. It's how they use the qua operator. Like they'll say Jesus, died according to the human nature. Okay, so what's that actually doing? right? You have these
Right.
objects, these a person, a thing, you're attributing a predicate to it. The whole idea is that that's not going to mean anything in notation unless you're already presupposing the metaphysics. This is really what you just said a minute ago.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like let's take it to the example of Aristotle himself, right? Aristotle knew that Socrates was a man, and he knew that men were mortal, right? And so we get the famous argument, uh, Socrates is a man, all men are mortal, therefore Socrates is immortal, right? Like in
Yeah.
this argument, like Aristotle
that
is
doesn't
already
follow.
presupposing, or wait, sorry, no, maybe I quoted it wrong. Socrates is all men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is immortal. So that's like the famous
Yeah,
two-step
I've heard it
argument.
before. Yep.
Yeah, so like we already have Aristotle presupposing these metaphysical commitments, right? What a man is, what it
Yeah.
means to be mortal.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like it's coming based off of what we're already presupposing to be true. In this case, Nick is presupposing like that his commitments to what people are, or rather persons, what essences are, how we partake in or said to be a part of this specific class of like persons or essences is all presupposed. And so you can't divorce the two subjects of formal validity and soundness.
Yeah, so I hope that people catch like what we've just discussed, right? So you understand. So when Trinitarians like Nick are saying the Trinity is logical, they mean that in a strict formal sense. Or we essentially, I would just say it's only logical in a strict formal sense. That doesn't make it sound because it's still informally fallacious. They're still presupposing certain metaphysics about what a person and being is in separating certain predicates. So in particular for the hypostatic union, I think I have, where is it? Oh no, that's right. I put it in the text. So I don't have slides for this, but this is something that I want to go through. So think about it. The qua operator with the hypostatic union, when they say that, Jesus is immortal according to his divine nature. Immortal is the predicate. It's being predicated to Jesus in accordance with the polyadic predicate, right? The divine nature. So the point is that Jesus still has the property. They're still giving it to the one person of Christ, but they're just trying to qualify that statement by adding the accordance with. And the qua operator, I'm telling you, there's no other function of it at all except to try and shift the predicate to the nature. That's what's going on here. Okay, so they agree in the law of non-contradiction. So in order to say that the natures don't contradict in the one person, they treat the predicates as really landing on the nature. Right? It's the nature that grew in virtue. That's another one with Nick. That was in my prior conversation with Nick. So Nick said that growing in virtues is a property of nature. Right? That's their view. That's very similar to what they do with the qua operator, right? That it's the nature is what has this property, and that's just fallacious because natures aren't subjects. They don't have predicates like growing in virtues, right? A nature doesn't grow in virtue, a person does. So really the contradiction still remains. And I hope people just get this. It took me a while to grasp it, but the moment Jesus has both sets of properties, right? He died, but he's also immortal. It's just over. There's your contradiction. The accordance with it, it really doesn't change anything. The Trinity delusion. He says, they are trying to make something true and false at the same time, Mike. Right. Right. Here we go. Joker says something can't be immortal and mortal at the same time. Correct. They get mad at me when I point out, essentially just what I did, and they'll tell me that, well, you just don't understand the difference between person and nature. It's like, well, excuse me, I'm just going off your argument. You're the one who's adding the qua operator. You're the one saying that it's in accordance with the nature. Okay, so does the nature have the property or not? If that's not what they're saying, then Jesus still has both properties. That's the point. Anything else is really just more of a denial. The bad guy says, sounds like y'all making up word salad, honestly. Blocking comments ain't cool either. It's sad. I have not blocked a single comment. Not a single comment. What are you even talking about? Maybe your comment got blocked by YouTube because some of you Trinitarians are crazy in the chat.
Bro, that's an understatement.
What, man? Sig says gaslighting, projection, goalpost moving, word salad, and finally crazy making. That's all Trinitarians and oneness have. Bravo. It's so funny. Well, I still don't see any Trinitarians in the box with their hand raised. So we might as well just keep on talking. So, Gumbo, what is some things that you've been focusing on recently in regards to the logic? Who have you been debating with? Do you have any debates coming up? Any other thoughts? Let's just conversate with us in chat while we wait. If a Trinitarian wants to join.
Yeah, of course. No worries. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been trying to set up a debate with a few people. I was supposed to debate these two guys. One was named Elijah, and the other one was named I can't remember his name. He's on TikTok though. You might know who he is. But anyway, yeah, I think you just spoke to him the other day, Travis. I was supposed to have a debate with those two guys, but it fell through. They didn't, or somehow I wasn't a part of the correspondence at all about the debate. But anyways,
go figure.
I'm trying to set up one with right. I don't even know like what happened, but trying to set up a debate with Bryce J. He's been taking his sweet time. He said it's because of Lent, but I don't know. We'll see. There's just been a few debates that I've wanted to set up. I've threw out the challenge. I threw out the multiple invites for people to take on debates, whether it's on the logicity of the Trinity, their metaphysical and epistemic commitments, what we can justify, what we know to be true, obviously. But dude, I've even sent out debate challenges to Muslims, and man, there's nobody who's like looking to debate. I don't know. Can't find nothing.
It's tough. It's tough out here. I recently had a big name also drop out, but it looks like I might have just confirmed a debate against Alex Soren. That should be interesting. 68 Hidden Glory.
Okay.
He
What's
says,
his position?
Do you know who that is?
No.
So he's an Eastern Orthodox. He's got like 10 to 14K subs on YouTube, something like that.
Okay.
Hidden Glory says, Mike, I'm willing to speak to Christ's flesh. If you're a Trinitarian, go ahead. Join the Discord link. If you're not in the Discord, you'll have to join it and then go down to the arena. Maybe we should try and move that up. Daniel, I think you're in here. Man, I'm probably not doing a good job explaining that, right? Exactly how to join. If people aren't joining because I'm not explaining it, you join the Discord. And then there's just one of them is just live. You can see it. We're live in the arena.
Are you able to throw up like a sticker for your YouTube stream that says like join Discord? And so you can just periodically say like, hey, if you're coming in and looking to join,
I probably should, right? Put instructions right on it.
Yeah. And also like any regulars that are in the chat, like who come on the YouTube stream and watch Mike regularly. Like if anybody's in the chat looking to come on, tell them exactly how to get here. Tell them through Discord.
Yeah, that's what I should do. That's a good reminder. All right, so guys, if you are enjoying this live, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. If you haven't, we go ahead, have our first guest, Ahad. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Are you a Trinitarian?
No, obviously not Trinitarian, but I did. First of all, I just want to say that I do appreciate your work. It's really beneficial. But I did have something to say to you. Of course, I can't say it here. So I was just asking your permission to DM you on Discord because it's really important, and I just wanted to tell you this, right?
Okay, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. And yeah, absolutely. Send me a PM. Sounds good. I'll check it out after this live, all right?
Right, right. Okay, okay. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for your work, and thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Have a nice day.
How we going? All right, we're inviting up Dallas. I think he was next. Dallas. I was born in Fort Worth. It's not too far from
No
Dallas.
way, were you?
Yeah. Yeah.
No way. I lived in Austin.
Oh, did you really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I loved it too. I
small
loved it down
world.
there.
Texas is cool.
Did you see when I went on Sam Shamoon's panel?
No, I did not. Really? You made it on Shamoon's panel?
Yeah.
Oh.
But instantly they just started insulting and like, bro, it was the craziest. It was really cool. I thought it was funny just because I knew that's exactly what they were gonna do.
I'm definitely gonna watch that engagement. Sam is pretty tough. Dallas, what's up, man? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, Dallas. Can you hear me?
He might not even have his microphone options on.
He did
Can't hear a
join
thing.
and accepted it. I think I'm trying to. Can I adjust this? Nope. All right, going once, going twice. He's gone. Well, Dallas, if you're welcome to try again. I don't know what that was about. Now we're inviting up Levinsky. Hello, hello. Can you hear us? Check testing. 1, 2, 3. Levinsky. Can you hear us? Whoa.
It's got to be a problem with them because I mean I can hear you perfectly.
Weird. All right, we're gonna invite up Dallas again. I see. Maybe he'll try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. How you doing?
So good. So sorry about that. Discord decided to say, "Oh, you don't have any permissions."
That's all right. It happens. So, are you a Trinitarian?
I am.
Cool, cool, cool. How long have you been a Trinitarian for?
You know, I grew up in the church, so I want to say like most of my life. So all my life. So you know, but yeah, I've really enjoyed your content. I think you do such a great job at just like just addressing this. So I just want to say that first and foremost is I do enjoy watching your stuff, even though I don't agree with it all the way. It is super interesting.
I appreciate that. Thanks a lot, Dallas. Much respect. So the topic, the prompt for tonight is the Trinity logical? Are you down to talk about that, or did you have something else in your mind you wanted to bring up about the Trinity?
Oh, no, I'd love to talk about that. I have one question because it's like I don't want to. I feel like I'm sometimes ill prepared for this, so I may say like, "Oh, that's a good question. I don't know."
It's okay
because I think you're super smart in what you're doing. But like one of the questions that I had, and I'd love to talk about is it logical? Because I think it's a fascinating topic as well. But you know, how when Thomas comes to Jesus, and I'm sure you've been asked this question 20 times, but when he comes to Jesus and says, you know, my Lord, my God, how do you interpret that in the scriptures?
That is a phenomenal question. So what I want to do is, I think I have, nope, I don't. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. We're going to pull up this verse. All right, I'm trying to think of where that specifically is. Do you have the citation? If you give me a moment, it'll come to me.
No, I'd say I
So
don't. I'm ill prepared too.
is it? So let me see. My Lord, I want to say it's John 20. I believe it's in
Yeah, that's
John
probably
20 somewhere. Let me see. I think it's after. Yeah, look at this. All right, here we go. I got the chapter right. John 20:28. And Thomas answered him, "My Lord and my God." So you're saying, I mean, how is this possible, right? Thomas is calling him God. He must be God, right? So that's sort of the view.
Yeah, it's the idea that, you know, people say that Jesus never received worship or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I look at there, and I think there's another time on a disciple on a boat, and it's like, oh, you know, my God, like, so I just was wondering about those types of situations where it is he didn't say like, yeah, that's me, but he didn't deny it either.
Yeah, so here's what I'm going to do. Okay, all right. So could you define the word God? Do you know the definition of the word God by chance? Like if you just had to define it, right, off the top of your head, what would you say? What is it? What is God in the Greek and Hebrew?
Well, Greek and Hebrew, well, I think when you got Yahweh is probably the most of like the God. You've got, you know, I believe you've got like Adonai, you've got the qualities of God. So, you know, it just depends on the context of what God is used in that context. I think English kind of has a hard time with like Lord and God and those types of things as well. So it depends on what word is used by Thomas when he says, "My Lord, my God."
So, you know, man, with respect, you don't know the definition. Okay, so the definition of the word God, like you have a general concept of just like, you know, being like a high authority, but the word God is actually a title, right? Number one, it's a title, and it's not a rigid designator. So is there any sense in which the word God could be used for, say, an angel?
In the scriptures, in the Bible?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Again, this is going to be like a I don't know type of a thing.
That's all right.
I would say no. But I'm sure you're just going to show me something where God is being used as an angel.
Yeah, so angels are called Elohim, specifically in the Hebrew. That you'll find that a lot. So here's one for you. Is there any sense in which a human is called God? Are you aware of any of those?
Elohim's interesting. What's your view on Michael Heiser's Unseen Realm?
So that's sort of taking it left field. I agree with him on some things. I don't agree with him on others. I like his take on the divine council. That's also the view that I hold.
Okay.
But so the question though is there any sense in which a human can be called God?
Give me an example.
Okay, like Exodus chapter 7 verse 1. You have a Bible near you?
You know what? I hold on, let me go grab one. I'm outside and I'm scared to get off Discord because of what happened last time.
Well, here I can just read it for you if you don't have it close to you.
Oh yeah. No, I don't. I do not have it with me.
Hey, that's okay. No big deal. All right. So in Exodus chapter 7 verse 1, it says, "The Lord said to Moses, see, I have made you like God to Pharaoh." Some translations will actually just say, "I've made you God to Pharaoh."
So Pharaoh's saying that? Saying that?
No, the Lord is saying this to Moses.
Okay.
He's saying that I've made you like God, and your brother Aaron shall be your prophet. Right? So here you have the title Elohim being predicated to a human. Another good example is going to be in Psalm 45, verse 6, where it says, "Your throne, O God, is forever and ever." This refers to the King of Israel. Because in verse 1, it says, quite frankly, that I address my verses to the king. Okay, so here I have on YouTube, you're not going to be able to see this.
I know,
but
I can't.
You know what? Actually, let me see here. So if I come here,
I saw you for a second,
click
and then you went away.
share. All right, so
Oh, let's go.
I'm sharing this on screen now. So notice here, so this is under Elohim. So this is under Elohim for Hebrew. This is the Halet, the Hebrew Aramaic dictionary of the Old
Can I
Testament.
stop you just real quick?
Yeah.
For clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Is when Thomas is saying "My Lord, my God," is he using the word? Because he's speaking in Greek, not Hebrew.
Yeah, he uses the word theos, where we're totally going to come back to the passage. And so listen, I usually just give you the answer very quickly. I could just give you the answer to this, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to engage the knowledge behind the view. So the first thing we're doing is just defining what God is, and we're looking at the full semantic range in which it can be used. So here you have the King of Israel being called God in Psalm chapter 45. That's what this scholarly work is saying. And there's many other examples I could give you, okay? And so the point is that the definition of the word God can refer, so here's number one, just gods. Lowercase g gods, right? A god, a deity, generally speaking. It can also refer to the living God, which is going to be like Yahweh, of course, right? So it can revert to the Most High God. So that's the Hebrew. It's the same in the Greek. So now let's come back to this passage in question. Thomas answered him and said, "My Lord and my God." So I'm going to tell you that he's being called God like the exalted human Messiah and not as the Most High God. He's being predicated the title Theos in Greek. And I would like to give you one other proof text. So is Satan called the God of this world?
I'm not sure.
Yes, he is. In 2 Corinthians 4:4, it says, "In whom the God of this age has blinded the minds of the unbelieving," right? So this is the same word, theos, with the definite article. In whom the God, ho theos, of this world. But no one thinks that Satan's the Most High God. And in English, they keep the G lower. It's a lowercase g God. And what's really misleading here is that they capitalize it in John 20:28. But that's the exact same phrase that appears here. Thomas says, in answer, Thomas said to him, "The Lord of me and the God of me." Okay, so ho theos, the God of me. So the answer to your question is that Thomas is calling Jesus the God of him in a way similar to how Satan is called the God of this world.
Wouldn't Thomas then be blaspheming though? If he's calling Jesus God?
No, because just like we've seen, Moses can be called God. There's already a precedent for the King of Israel being called God. Excuse me. Yeah, so there's already a narrative, right? There's a tradition for understanding the semantic range of this word. The King of Israel can be called God.
Okay. Interesting.
So
never heard. I've never. I mean, this is something I'm gonna look into for sure, because I think it's super interesting. Of that word of the Elohim side of things.
Yeah, there's also a realm here. Some Unitarians, and maybe Gumbo, you can come in here and share any of your thoughts. I don't know your view on this, Gumbo, but some Unitarians think that "and" is actually, this conjunction is separating them. So he's using Lord as a title for Jesus, and God is actually just referring to the Father. We actually see this all the time, all throughout the text, like the Lord and God. Paul does this in virtually every single one of his letters at the very beginning, right? Or you'll see like God and Savior. You have, and one refers to Jesus, one refers to the Father. So some think that it's just referring to that. I think that is also valid.
Agree. I agree. I think that's the most parsimonious, because when we look at, like, if we were to look at the Greek, like that just seems to be like the intended like message to be come across it, because the phrase is the Lord of me and the God of me, right?
Yep.
It's like Kyrio mu, Theo mu. right? So like the Lord of me and the God of me. So it's
So,
like,
so what
I
would
mean,
be
I
like
think it is.
the beginning of James 2, talking about my Lord Jesus Christ?
Yeah, Jesus is the Lord. Jesus is our Lord. Of course he is.
So the word Lord is also kind of tricky, brother. So Dallas, in Greek, do you know the word for Lord? What is it? You could probably get
Tell
it.
me.
It's a famous one. So it's Kyrios.
Kyrios, okay.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Kyrios is just like a ruler, an owner, or a master. It's like an owner, someone who rules. But it's also substituted for the tetragrammaton, which is actually a personal proper name. So like in the Old Testament where you see Lord in all caps, you know that's what appeared there was actually a name, and it's called the tetragrammaton. You're aware of that? So
Yeah.
so it's the same thing. Same thing. In English, we also use the word Lord as a substitution for the divine name. So Jesus is Lord in terms of a ruler, owner, or master, not like the personal name of the Father.
Got it. Okay. I think I get that. That makes sense. In the sense of like the different names of God, where he's not being called God. Yeah, I know. I think it's. I'd love to, whatever questions you have for me, because I think you answered my questions really, really well.
So here, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so check this out. So we were just in verse 28, right, where Thomas, we have the statement, and Thomas answered, "My Lord and my God." So check this out. Go back to verse 17. John 20:17. Can you see this on the screen on Discord?
Yep.
All right, so check this out. Jesus said to her, "Do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father, but go to my brothers and say to them, I'm ascending to your Father, to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Okay, so the Father is actually Jesus's God. So if Jesus is God, then God has a God? How does that make sense, Dallas? How can you be God but yet have a God over you?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I think, and again, I think my brain goes to this, and I'm just going to be super honest with you too, is my brain goes to, all right, you got human nature type of a thing, where if you have, Jesus being having his human nature to going, yeah, this is my God, and then you have this divine nature as well. So that's where my head goes to, is when he says my God. Again, I'd have to look at like the Greek of that and saying, okay, what does he mean by that? But that's where my brain, where it's not a logical, fallacy to say, hey, your God and my God. It's like he's a part of who God is, and then also talking from kind of his human nature standpoint. It's a great point. I don't you got me there, but that's where kind of my brain goes to. If I were to read this as a Trinitarian reading this, it's God's human nature, or Jesus' human nature.
Yeah, right. So, are you aware of anywhere in the Bible where it distinguishes between Jesus's human and divine natures?
Distinguishes or just says it?
Yeah, and it teaches it, right? That Jesus has a human nature and he has a divine nature, like specifically that language. Is there anything in the Bible that says that?
My gut instinct, I don't have anything in front of me now, but is Paul is going to talk about, Jesus coming down in the form of man. I would probably pick that first.
Yeah, so you're thinking of like Philippians chapter 2, right? Where it says that he took he's in the form of God, but also has the form of a servant. Yeah, so form of a servant is not equal to human nature. And form of God, in fact, I might as well we'll just go ahead and bring this up. So Philippians chapter 2. So what's it? 2 verse. Wait, did I already look over it? Where does it say that? Each one had interest through Christ. Yeah, here we go. Though he was in the form of God. So this word form in the Greek is morphe. And as the BDAG points out, that this refers to the outward shape or appearance. He was in the form of God. So if you, by the way, if you're just God, you're not in the form of God.
Bruh.
You're just God, right? The statement form of God is actually separating the form from God, right? It's is a genitive of relationship or source, right? God is the source of the form, right? So the form is not God, right? That's actually how the statement form of God has meaning. But there's another passage here. So let me see. What's it? The Bible verse, Jesus appears in another form. I should know this off the top of my head. Yeah. Here we go. So now let's look at, so that's verse 6. Now let's go Mark 16:12. Look at this. It says, after these things, he appeared in another form to 2 of them as they were walking in the country. Okay, so this is literally Jesus. He didn't want them to know who he was. So it says that he appeared in another morphe. Guess what this is? It's
probably the same one that you just showed me.
Oh, did I click the wrong one? Yeah, it's the same word. It's morphe. Why is this switching? Saying field, land, or countryside? See, this is why I need to read Greek, or I'd know exactly what this was. Used in farming purposes. No, that's not what I'm looking for.
Other form. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no, but I get the logic there. No, I get the logic of the form.
Let me see.
When you're done, I have another question, because I think this is kind of more of the math question.
Yeah, so just to track where we were, right? So where does the point was, how is it that Jesus can have a God? You're saying, well, I think that's just referring to his human nature. I'm asking, well, where does the Bible make that distinction? And you cited Philippians chapter 2. So just to track, right? Form of God refers to the outward appearance. That does not refer to like this inward essence or nature. Brother Dallas, that's actually a later Greek philosophical concept. That's post-biblical all the way. So yeah, I'm totally down. Let's hear this other thing that you got.
Yeah, so I can't remember who it was. I think it's some early Christian writer, but he talked about like the God-man principle, and it kind of just struck me of just the math problem of Jesus dying, because you guys believe that Jesus died on the cross for our sins, correct?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Okay. And when he died, it was for everybody, correct?
Yeah. I mean, you sort of need some qualifiers here, right? It's like, yeah, for everybody, the sins of the world, but I mean, you also have to receive that gift. You have to repent, etc.
Yes. You have to actually receive that gift. Yeah, 100%. So the question is based off of the debt to be paid. I know that's a bad word, or the way of salvation. Like what was needed for that type of a thing. We talk about like the Passover lamb, like he was the lamb that was taking away the sins of the world. All of those types of things. How could a man or something lower than God fulfill that gap?
That's a really great question. Really awesome. I love that. Those are the exact type of questions that we should be asking. So there is a lot of awesome things to share with you, but let's start with where Jesus forgives sins. Okay, so I'm going to pull this back up. I just unshared it. I'll go ahead and share it again so you can see it. Share your screen. I just want to share this app. Okay, we'll make it bigger. Okay, check this out. All right. So, this is Matthew 9. The paralytic man, Jesus heals him. He says, "Take heart, my son, your sins are forgiven." And some of the scribes said to themselves, "This man is blaspheming." But Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, "Why do you think evil in your hearts? For which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Rise and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." Okay, so the answer to your question is in understanding the unique role Jesus has as God's exalted human Messiah. Right? So he is the Son of Man, and the Son of Man has authority to forgive sins. And notice how it says here in verse 8, "And when the crowd saw it, they were afraid, and they glorified God who had given such authority to men." Right? So they didn't think, wow, Jesus must be God. They thought, wow, God gave authority to men to do something like forgive sins. Okay, so that said, let's come back to how can a man be the one that redeems us? The reality is Jesus actually had to be a man. It was only a man that could do this because, number one, he had to restore what was lost with Adam. He had to be just like Adam. If he wasn't like Adam, then he couldn't redeem from the fall that Adam had. And the second is because he was then also exalted to our new high priest and as our mediator between God and us. And that also had to be a human being. So check out a few verses to demonstrate this. So Paul says in Romans chapter 5, it says, "For if many died through one man's trespass, much more have the grace of God and the free gift of grace of that one man, Jesus Christ, abounded for many." Right? So you have the one man's trespass, a man, Adam. And then you have the one man, Jesus Christ, abounded for many. Verse 16, "And if the free gift is not the result of one man's sin, for the judgment following one trespass brought condemnation, but the free gift following many trespass brought justification." Right? He's just like restating this over and over again. Verse 17, "For if because one man's trespass, right, death reigned, much more will receive grace through the one man, Jesus Christ." So this is just reiterated all throughout Paul's writings. Verse 18, it's the same thing. I'll only cite one more. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 21 says, "For as by man came death."
Wait. Can you go back to Romans real quick?
Yep.
Are you able to go are you able to expand 5:18 farther to 19 and 20?
Yep.
And I may be completely wrong with this too, so
fine.
just give me.
So I think it stops at 19.
Oh, it does. Okay. I may have to come back to that because I do remember when you were doing a video and I was studying this, kind of trying to figure it out. I do remember this came up, and that Paul is arguing, yes, by one man's trespassing, sin entered the world, but then there was a therefore longer than that. But I don't have it in front of me, so I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah, I'm unaware of it. So these right here, you can see that verse 19. So I only had 18, but 19 says the same thing. "For as by one man's disobedience the many were made sinners, so by one man's obedience the many will be made righteous." Right? So
okay.
All right, and here's the final one I just wanted to read. "For as by man came death, by man has also come resurrection of the dead." You see?
Okay.
So the point is that salvation is possible because Christ was a man, not because he's God. That's actually not the narrative. That's not how they perceived it. what made this possible was his humanity.
Mm-hmm. Which I would look at and go, of course, because it's the nature of God. Or I mean, sorry, he's got human nature. You know, he's both God and man. So, but again, I'm just saying from my how I've been raised standpoint, that's what I would fall back onto.
Yeah, I hear you.
But,
So again, I think that's a post-biblical philosophical framework, which actually stems from Middle Platonism. Those categories of being and person, those had to be developed and debated over a span of roughly 500 years.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say probably the Trinity is the most thing I like wrestle with, because it's like, oh my gosh, I don't quite understand it. There's a lot of things I really like. Hey, this is great. So that's why, like, from, you know, I am okay with the fact too that Jesus came to earth and did some really amazing things, and then people were like, what just happened?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm okay with that Trinitarian thought, and that this came in later, because now people are backtracking and going, hey, he didn't give us the math formula of how sins were taken away. Well, here's my best guess of what happened. So that's why, like, I'm okay with that, of like people later trying to like define these things.
Okay.
And that's why, like, I look at, like, you know, you think of you know, I just read the other day was like the Shema, you know, it says three gods and then are one. And it's like, oh, that's cool.
The Shema says three gods are one. What was that?
No, it says God three times. My God, like how it goes through, it says three things, and then it says God is one. So like the nature of God. I'm pretty gosh darn sure I read that. Again, this was a I saw you on YouTube and I went, oh, I want to jump on and talk to him. So I'm willing to recount anything I say too, but
hey, that's all right. So I want to pull it up and we can address that. So I've heard this before.
Okay.
So the Shema is right here. So, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Okay, so where is God three times in this?
Good question. No, I read it somewhere else where it was doing that. So I'm gonna recount that one. I'm gonna say, let me get back to you on that one.
The Tetragrammaton appears twice. You have Lord here and Lord here, but God appears right here. That's Elohim.
Got it. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's whatever the Lord, our God, the Lord is one. The Lord, and then the God and the Lord side of things.
Yeah, that's still only two lords though. That's not three, and even still, like, that's reading between the lines.
What's the which I get. I mean, I get there's that's why I think it is really hard when you say the logical side of it, you know, the logical side of the Trinity. Because it's not, I mean, it's and this is Dallas. This is not, I'm not speaking for everybody.
It's all right.
This is just for me too, is just like, I think, and I know it might be used as a cop out too, but like, I've never seen God. Nobody's seen God here on earth. So there are things outside of logic that he could have in his nature. So that's why it's hard for me to be like, oh, well, here's logic. Here's how we fit God into this. So could he have, you know, a nature where, you know, he's sending Jesus to earth, and this is God on earth, and, you know, it makes sense with the math problem of, hey, if we're going to have our relationship with God again, we need a nature of God to help fill that. You know, that kind of is my thought process, if that makes sense.
So, listen, unfortunately, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't,
Okay.
because if that were true, then that just means the people in the Bible didn't possess all the knowledge needed to know who and what God is. Right? All that stuff had to come later. Right?
I,
If it was enough for them how they understood it, then
what do
certainly
you
it
mean
was
by
enough
what do you
for
mean by
us.
later? What do you mean by later?
Okay, so I mean, it depends on where you want to start. Okay, so the word Trinity wasn't coined until a heretic coined it in the 3rd century, Tertullian. Okay,
Okay.
so you didn't even have a word for the triune God until hundreds of years after. You could just start there.
Okay.
And really, prior to that, what existed were Logos theorists. That's what Tertullian was. That's what Justin Martyr was, and Irenaeus. They theorize about the Logos. And you see, you need to understand, like, I mean, how different was our world 50 years ago? I mean, how different was it 100 years ago? Right? We're in 2026. What was it at 1926?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so different, right? What do you think it was like 2,000 years ago? These people had a whole different culture and context and language in which to understand these things. In Rome, it was dominated by a religion called Platonism. Okay, so I mean, let me. There's just so much information I could give you. It's hard to know exactly where to start. But
let's go back to the later. The reason why I bring up why I asked later is because Jesus doesn't show up till 2,000 years ago, but there's a whole that's why I think that I asked about the later side of it, is because if we go pre-New Testament, there is only one God in Israel. So it's easy for them to be like, oh yeah, this is God, this is Israel. And then Jesus shows up, and then you have the Holy Spirit will show up soon after, and then people are going, what do we do with this? How does this work out? So that's what I mean by later, is comparatively to when Jesus shows up, of 150, 200 years after he shows up, and people are trying to figure out how does this math work. That just
so again, they're not prepared. They don't have enough to understand it, and I think that's a pretty big problem, especially when they're going to be kicking people out of the church, causing all different types of division. It's unjustified. Now, listen, I have a quote for you.
Okay.
And I'm trying to. Can I should be able to share this right here. They're going to be able to see it on YouTube, but I want to make sure you can see it.
Okay.
Oh man. Okay, so here you can find it later on YouTube. All right, I'm going to show it right now. So, oh wow, that is way too big. Okay, so here's the quote. This is a scholarly resource. This was like, what do you call it? It's like a volume where they compile a whole lot of textual data on one highly specific subject. What's the name of that? There's a name for it. I can't remember. Okay, anyways, it's called Vigilae Christianae. Okay, this was put together. This is a popular scholarly volume. All right, it says there's little doubt, at least in more recent scholarship, that Justin Martyr's writings demonstrate an evident knowledge and engagement with Middle Platonism. He makes mention of Plato numerous times throughout his works. Even after his conversion, Justin found many aspects of Christianity deeply consistent with Platonism, and as a Christian, he maintained Platonic conceptions of the divine. Okay, so that's just one example. Justin Martyr was one of the earlier Logos theorists to try and synchronize the culture, the context, the language of the religious belief of the Logos, the intermediary principle in Middle Platonism, with Judeo-Christian monotheism. Okay, so Trinitarianism was born after first that. It was a discussion on whether the Logos in Middle Platonism is the same as the Logos spoken of in the Gospel of John. They're not. They're detached by 200 years, and the use of it in John is dependent upon prior work than John. Like intertestamental Jewish literature spoke about this. Sirach, Baruch. You also have wisdom tradition in literature. Even Philo was heavily influential on why the prologue of John was written how it was. So the point is that they're not the same. And all I would want to do is just encourage you now. So I'm just going to go ahead, share this again. So I totally understand how your mind is just like, listen, his human nature, right? That explains all these things. But what I'd like to encourage you to do is just realize that what none of these passages show you that I've been showing you, none of them say that for since by man came death, right? By Christ in his divine nature, all shall be made alive. Right? Why doesn't Paul say that since many died through one man's trespass, much more have the grace of God and free gift by the divine eternal spirit being that is Jesus Christ, right? Or, you know, I mean, seriously though, right? Because of one man's trespass, death reigned, right? Much more will reign in life through the one divine nature of Christ. Right? This is just not, oh, they can't see it on YouTube. This is just not what all these texts say. So what I would encourage you to do is just think about that stark difference, man. Because here I am telling you, this is how I know. I know that salvation is possible because Christ is a man, because that's actually how they viewed it. Their writings revealed to us that they thought that's why salvation was even possible, is because he was a man, right? So if you're going to believe the opposite, or just rather add to that, well, he also needs to be God ontologically. Where is that in this text? Where is that explicitly taught or explained? Dallas, I really don't think it is.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm probably, because my brain goes to a place for it, and that would be the virgin birth.
Okay, so
I know you're gonna blow me up on this, but that's where my head goes. So you're gonna, you know, all the added, and so that's where that's where you get to, like, okay, what part of the Bible do you believe? So, but that's where my head goes to, is the virgin birth.
Yeah, I hear you. So I always have to clarify this. Okay, so real quick, is it possible for a virgin to give birth? Is that like logically possible? That's not like beyond human comprehension, right?
Is it is it logically possible for someone to be raised from the dead?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and
yes, it is logically possible for a virgin to give birth. Yes.
Absolutely. So are you aware of what insemination is?
Yes.
So even we could inseminate a woman who has never, you know, participated in.
Yes.
Right. So the point is that that's not like if you're born of a virgin, then you must be God, right? Where that connection just is not like actually made there. All right, now to point out just a few things from this narrative. Okay, so it says, now the birth of Jesus Christ took place in this way. This word for birth right here, if we look this up in the BDAG, the Greek English lexicon of the New Testament, it means to come into being at a specific moment. Okay, so actually it's just the opposite from what you said, Dallas. To say Jesus Christ was born is to literally predicate properties to him which are only possible if he's a man. Only, right? And the word used means to come into being.
Fully God, fully man, that still fits within that box.
Okay, so where does this text say that he's God, though? It doesn't. I just showed you a statement, a word, which explicitly would mean he's human. He's not God.
You can
Okay.
be like,
Oh, okay. So no, I hear you. I know what you're saying. So what
Yeah.
we should really probe this a little bit more, okay? And then we should probably give another guest a chance to come on
yeah,
if they want.
absolutely,
So
absolutely. You've been very kind to me, so I really appreciate that.
yeah, and you've been awesome too, Dallas. I really appreciate you joining. So okay, real quick, let's just probe this some. So
Yeah, yep.
do you agree that humans by nature are limited in their knowledge, in their power, and their presence?
Humans, I'm going to break this down. Humans by nature are limited in their knowledge. I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, of course, right? You have to say yes, right? To be a human is to have an existence across time and space where you are inherently limited in your knowledge. Humans can't know everything. In your power, we can't just do anything. We can't just snap our fingers and create the world with our words, right?
Yep.
And we're also spatially limited. Okay,
Yeah.
so ready. Now let's do the opposite. Is God by nature limited in his power, knowledge, and presence?
Ooh, you're taking me down a path that I know where it's going to end. No, he's not.
No. Right. Okay. So then your whole statement about Jesus, this whole thing you think all this is solved by, his human and divine natures, is literally a logical contradiction.
So that's
you're asserting contradictory predicates to the one person of Christ. He cannot both be God according to his divine nature and human according to his human nature unless he's two persons. If he's one person, then he has both predicates, and that's just a contradiction.
So do you believe that Jesus was more than just a man, though?
Yes, but what is more than a man? What does that mean? If by more than a man you mean something that isn't a man, then no.
Bruh.
He's not more than a man.
Okay.
He just was a man. Like, are you more than a man? Like, what's that mean?
No, because I don't go around. I can't rise from the dead. I can't.
Yes, you
can. Calm.
Yes, you can.
I can rise from the dead.
Yes,
By
you
my own
can.
power?
Not by your own power, but you can rise from the dead. Again, why can't Jesus do this by God's power working in him? If you know that you can be resurrected from the dead, the prophets did many miracles throughout the Old Testament, brother. Right? Are they God?
They didn't heal the blind.
Yes, actually, yes, they did. I think there is one example of that. I could find it. Elijah's bones resurrected somebody from the dead. Or no, excuse me, was it not Elijah? Oh my gosh, that might have been wrong. I can look it up, but there was a prophet who his bones touched a dead person and he resurrected from the dead.
I think he.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right with something with Elijah's bones.
Yeah,
but
the point.
I don't think anybody calmed any seas. There's no human nature.
Yeah, Moses parted the Red Sea. Moses had to put his staff out. He had to go into the water, and by God's power, okay, Moses parted the Red Sea. He was the agent God used to perform the act. So it can literally be predicated to both of them. Is the point.
Okay, I agree with you there. That is a point. But then that's why Moses was not allowed to enter the promised land, though, because he did it by his own power.
So, okay, here we go. Can you see my screen?
I can, yeah.
Awesome. Check this out. Okay, so listen, here's the answer to all of this. This is the answer. All right, men of Israel, hear these words. Jesus of Nazareth, a man attested to you by God, here it is, with mighty works and wonders and signs that God did through him in your midst. Okay, so all the mighty works and wonders and signs God did through him in your midst. And like, even if you chop this up to the human nature, you still have a further paradigm. Because tell me, Dallas, is Jesus a different God than the Father?
No, he'd be the same.
So then God did it through himself?
Yeah.
All right, so that's a contradiction then, man. You just that collapses them into one being. And through inference, it would be one person, right? Jesus through Jesus. If Jesus is the same God as the Father, and the Father did it through Jesus, then that's God doing it through God. This doesn't make any sense, Dallas.
No, I get it. No, I get your point with it, and there's a lot to think about with that, because I do get it. Like I mean I don't think you're wrong in that sense of like reading this, like pure reading of this science. God did it through his myths. You know, my mind goes to, oh yeah, God did it through Jesus, but Jesus is still fully God. Like that still doesn't.
Dallas, if he's fully God, then he's not a man.
No, fully God, fully man.
Listen, that's just an assertion of an absurdity, Dallas. You're just asserting something. You're asserting something absurd. That's a dogma. Yes, because human and God have opposite properties, right? God by nature is not limited in his knowledge, power, and presence, but humans are. So if the one person of Christ is both God and man, he has opposite properties.
So if Jesus was able to know the heart of what was going on with the Pharisees, what was that coming from?
Power that God gave him. He had the power of the Holy Spirit without measure. Listen, I believe I have seen miracles of men being given knowledge by God of other people. The church that I grew up in, man, there are some intense things that are hard to explain away. I've seen people's lives changed because God used someone to speak into their life that they just knew. I've watched my dad call people out for being in adultery. My dad was a pastor in a church. He just knew. Nobody knows how he knew. Calling it out. I mean, this is like one example, and it's so anecdotal. Forgive me, but like. The point is that God can give that power to a man. That is not contradictory to being a man, right? Having special knowledge is not contrary to human nature, but being God is.
Got it. Okay. That makes. I'll ask you one more question, and then I'll probably need to go too.
All right.
This has been great. Do you think we serve two different gods?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, listen, is Jesus God?
Yeah.
Is the Father God?
Yeah.
Is Jesus the Father?
I think Jesus is God's. I would say yes, but not in a good answer way yet.
Okay, so Jesus is the Father? I just want to confirm that. Jesus is the Father.
And they have the same nature. Nature would be they have the same nature.
Yeah,
they're not separate gods. They were not separate gods.
I understand that's the assertion, but what I'm doing is running a basic syllogism. Okay, so Jesus is God, the Father is God. Is Jesus the Father?
No, I get what you're doing,
and I get that you're not answering.
Listen,
Jesus is not the Father in Orthodox Trinitarianism. Okay, so it follows from the premises. If Jesus is God, and that is God, is like in an identity statement, right? You're not just predicating the title God to him, right? It's Jesus is God by virtue of his nature, and the Father is God in virtue of his nature. And Jesus isn't the Father, then you have two gods. That's how this works. I mean, it functions like polytheism. In Trinitarianism, they have different roles. They have totally different roles. They totally do different things. What's different than that than many different Hindu beliefs? What's different from it? Well, you're praying to Jesus. Is that praying to the Father? No.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this: what's the relationship between Jesus and John when he says there's a comforter that's coming? Is the Holy Spirit a separate God as well?
No, no. So most of the time, the Holy Spirit is referring just to the Father's power and presence, which flows from Himself. It's literally an extension of the Father's being. So we can actually go back to that birth narrative. Look at what it says here in Matthew chapter 1. So verse 18, where we were, right? Now the birth of Jesus took place in this way, right? Check this out. Look what it says. He considered they behold an angel appear to him in a dream. Took place. Conceive. No, this isn't the one that I'm looking for. You know what? Maybe it's Luke chapter 3. Let me get this for you real quick. Luke chapter... No, it wouldn't be Luke 3, would it? It'd still be Luke 1. Come on. Oh, come on. All right, give me a second to look this up. Give me one moment. Google, if I just type it in, the power of the Most High will overshadow
If my phone
you.
dies, I swear I'm not hanging up on you.
No, that's fine. Okay, you know what? It is Luke chapter 1. I just didn't scroll down far enough. It's verse 35. Okay. And the angel answered her, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Okay, so the Holy Spirit is being conflated with the power of the Most High. It's accurately conflating the two together, right? The Holy Spirit is going to come, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. So those things are describing the Holy Spirit as God's power. What's the other one too? Matthew, I want to say 10:28. Right? What does Matthew 10:28 say? Scroll down. Nope, that's not the one I'm looking for. That's not what I was looking for. It's where he says, for it is the Spirit of your Father. Isn't that Matthew? What is it? Oh my gosh, I'm always so close. Matthew 10:20. Okay, so it's verse 20, not 28. Let's just get rid of Luke, and then I'll let you go. I know you're saying you got to go. We should also try and let someone know. Okay, for it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Right? So the Spirit is the Father's Spirit. We also possess spirit as human beings. I mean, hopefully you do. Do you believe humans have a spirit?
Oh yeah,
right.
Spirit and soul.
Yeah, is your spirit a separate person within you?
No.
No, right. Neither is God's spirit.
Yeah.
Right. Neither is God's spirit. It's the same thing. That the whole idea of a spirit being a distinct person equal in essence with the Father and Son is a post-biblical concept which had to derive from Middle Platonism. That's a crazy truth.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Dallas, for coming on. I really appreciate it. If you have any last things you want to say, please do.
No, you've been great. No, you got me a lot to think about. I think still the biggest question. I mean, I think you're pulling up great things and these, these different words and these form and all these different things, but it's still the math problem. How can a man die for everyone's sins? And I know you brought that up of hey, one man comes in, sin comes into the world by one man, all of that kind of stuff. But no, you've got a lot of things for me to think about. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate the work that you're doing. I love that you are able to wrestle with this with people in a way that is not combative. So even though I don't 100% agree with you, I do appreciate these types of conversations. So I just want to let you know that.
Hey, well, thank you very much, Dallas, for joining. I totally don't judge you. And I really think that so many other things matter more in our faith. And I just think just how you've treated me, your cordialness, I'm sure you love God, you love Christ.
Yeah, I do.
And yeah, man, I respect it. And God bless. Thanks for joining. You're welcome back another time.
Absolutely. Have a great night, Mike.
You too. You too. Thanks, Dallas. W's in the chat for Dallas. That was a good conversation. I enjoyed that very much. Dallas was cool. And we get some W's. Yeah, we got one. Eric Watson, W. Very good. Troy giving you a W. We got Face Radio with another W. The bad guy. Look, man. Showing you love. Oh, Gojo hit you with an L. What? What? No, get out of here. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next guest. Ooh, I see this guy Gojo. You trying to call me out? You need to calm down in this comment section, dude. Whoa. I'm not even sure where you are. Yeah, look. W, Project, LTV was good. Thanks for coming on. Now, we're going to go ahead and bring up Levinsky. He was next in line. And we'll go from there. And if you guys are enjoying this live, be sure to give it a like. Helps more people see it. I deeply appreciate it. And if you haven't already, subscribe. All right, Levinsky. We are inviting you up. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Are you a Trinitarian?
Honestly, I'm trying to understand more like the nature of God, honestly. So I won't say I have like I got a response. So that's why I'm like here in a way.
So it sounds like you're like still on the fence. You're like not a Trinitarian, but you're leaning that way. Is that maybe it?
Not really, because I can't really get the idea of like Jesus being God as well as the Father.
You can't get around Jesus being God as the Father. So you're saying if Jesus is God, you think he would be the Father?
Yeah, technically.
Okay, so I am not going to argue oneness tonight, but I am down to talk about that some other time. I think that Jesus isn't the Father. I think that's a false view. But if you have a question about Trinitarianism, like particularly like so you're just more of a oneness. That's more the view that you hold then.
I mean, like when I read the Bible, there's like Jesus is clear that there's a distinction between him and the Father. Like he says the Father is greater than he is. He said that like when he put the scriptures about like he's going to the Father, which is our Father, to his God that it's our God also. So there's always like a distinction between he makes between him and the Father. Except one time he said that the Father, I and the Father are one. That's like the only time that he said something like that could mean that they're like united in a way. But I'm still trying to understand what he meant by that. Like he's one with the Father.
So that means that he's one in mission and purpose. That's what John chapter 10 verse 30, right? Something like that. I and the Father are one. So that's the same neuter form of one which is used in John chapter 17, where Jesus says that he wants us to be one with him and God. Right? So being one with God is about being one in your purpose, in your mission. There are other examples too. The New Testament talks about him who waters and him who plants are one. So that's not one in essence or nature. That was actually a concept that had to develop much later. That would be my take on it shortly.
Yeah. So that's why, like, I mean, the example you said about John 17, like I read it also, and like it was pretty clear. So that's that. But like, I think Dallas was talking about it, like a human dying for all of our sins. Like he said that, is it actually possible that a human can do that and not him being God? So that was the thing. And I think you see that, I mean, Jesus, he was more than a normal human. He was like exalted from the Father. He was like the Messiah. So that would be the reason that it was only him who was actually capable of doing that, unless that any other human. So yeah.
Yeah. So we did actually just answer this with the last guest, Dallas. Dallas brought the same question up, and we did just sort of deal with it in full. So I would encourage you to go check out that prior. So I'm looking for Trinitarians tonight, so I appreciate you joining, but I'm going to go ahead and try and find a Trinitarian, all right?
All right.
All right, hey, but thank you for joining. You're welcome to join another time when, hey, hopefully we'll hit oneness then.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Levinsky. He was nice. He was nice. I like him. Some of you in chat need to be you need to be kind, and you need to not have respect to persons. Some of you were actually quite rude. Not cool. All right, next up I think is Roy. Let's bring him up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Roy, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. What about you?
Good, good. So are you a Trinitarian?
Yeah, so I saw the topic was that you wanted to talk about the consistency or logicality of the Trinity, right?
Yep, correct.
So when we say something is logical, we're just going to be saying it's internally consistent, and I think that the Trinity as explicated by Bo Branson in his dissertation is going to be consistent. So, I mean, I can send you the formal model if you want me to in chat. I hear that you don't read Discord chat. Would you mind just checking it so I can send you the model? There you go.
Discord chat.
This has a proof of consistency showing that it doesn't entail any contradiction. If you want to look at it.
Okay, so I'm scrolling down. Jump to the present. We'll just click that. All right, I think I'm looking at it. I could probably make it big screen too. We'll do this. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, this looks pretty standard. So I'm definitely wondering, listen, my first question to this is always going to be this. So, Roy, what's the difference between formal and informal logic? What's the difference?
Well, typically in informal logic, you're going to be using some informal language, whereas in formal logic, you're using a formal language.
No. Nope.
Okay, what definition are you using?
I'm using the what you're going to find in any logic class. See, because listen, so what you said, when you're talking about internal consistency, what you're doing is appealing to just formal logic. Just formal. But there's a whole other half of logic called informal logic, which refers to the content and the truth value. So let's go ahead now. That said, let's go ahead. I can pull this. There we go. Sweet, on screen. So
okay. Can you actually explain why it's like inconsistent though? Because I don't see why I would hold to your semantics about what is formal or informal logic.
Okay,
when you say something is logical, that's typically going to connotate that like you're saying that it's consistent, meaning that the set of propositions affirmed doesn't entail a contradiction. So I've already shown that the set of propositions doesn't entail a contradiction. Like there's no contradiction even under like classical logic. So I'm very confused as to what this has to do with the topic.
Okay, so is informal logic logic?
Okay, that's just gonna be a question.
Dude, answer the question. Is informal logic brother? Let me. This is how this is gonna go. This is not like one of your Trinitarian lies where you can just ramroll everything. I've answered you, and you also have to answer me. Is informal logic logic?
Sure, but I don't see what this has to do
yes.
with what I asked.
Okay. Yes. What?
Something logical? It's just going to be that it has a consistent set of propositions. I gave you a consistent set of propositions. So if you're conceding that it's consistent, you're conceding that it's logical. So can you actually show me why this is going to be a contradiction?
Okay. So listen. Number one, the fact you don't know the difference between informal and formal logic shows you're not even remotely prepared to have this discussion. You come up, you think you're going to bake, but you don't know what informal logic is. Okay, so the reason why it's relevant is because your view could be formally consistent but still unsound. Hello, is that...
Soundness is a property that deductive arguments have. What I'm giving you is a model. I'm not really sure what you're saying when you're saying this model has the property of soundness. I'm not giving you a deductive argument. That's a category.
Okay, really? Okay, so when we say in logic something is sound, what does that mean, Roy?
Yeah, that means it's going to have a set of premises which entails a conclusion, and those set of premises are true.
Yes, thank you very, very much.
I didn't give you a set of premises with a deduction. I gave you a model regimented in first-order logic. So
Correct. So what it has to do with the topic is that logic is more than just informal logic. Roy. That's what it has to do. So I will concede to you that you can formalize the Trinity in a way that is logical in a strict formal sense. But what you can't do is formalize it in a way that doesn't presuppose certain metaphysics which are informally fallacious. All right. So
what do you mean by logical then? Because the typical definition of logical is just going to have to do with it abiding by the laws of logic.
Wrong.
So if you're just conceding that there's no contradiction, what do you mean wrong? I can literally show you a dictionary definition saying
okay.
this. So, for
so
example, Merriam-Webster says that of relating to, involving, or being in accordance with logic. That's just the definition of what it means to be logical.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Question. Here's a very simple argument for you. Ready? All birds are made of cheese. I'm a bird. Therefore, I'm made of cheese. Is that logical?
It's going to be formally valid. But
formally valid. Thank you very much. That's not going to be
a model. Though.
Listen.
You're equivocating on logical.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Models.
If you're saying that a set of statements is illogical, then you're saying that there's going to be no model of that set of statements which is consistent.
Okay.
What you gave was a deductive argument. Those are two completely different things.
No, listen, you're misunderstanding that when you're saying a model, you're presenting a model, that is appealing directly to formal logic. That's what that's doing. So I can also use formal logic, be completely consistent, okay, and it still be nonsense, just like that was, right? That's nonsense because birds aren't made of cheese, right? And I'm also not a bird. I'm a human being, right? So the point is that all you're actually doing, your argument here, what you're doing is you're saying, listen, this is logical in a strict formal sense. Therefore, the Trinity is logical. What I'm telling you is I think that we need to raise that bar from just being formally consistent to also being informally true. That's what we're arguing for, right? You don't just believe that the Trinity is logical, you also think it's true, right?
Yeah, again,
listen, so if the answer is yes, then you're also appealing to
the typical definition of logical is going to refer to what you call formal consistency. Logical just means being in accordance with the laws of logic. In other words, there's not going to be any inconsistency with the laws of logic.
Okay, all right. So, Your Honor, motion to strike everything after yes. Okay, if you are acknowledging that, then you just demonstrated why informal logic is just as important as formal logic. So I will concede it is logical in a strict formal sense, but it's still untrue. You don't get the claim to truth. You understand?
Okay, that's not going to be relevant to the topic of this.
Of course, it's not relevant. Yeah, of course, it's not relevant. Yeah, it's not. It's not.
Different topic.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a completely different topic.
Yeah, it's
if
a complete.
If the Trinity is true, that's going to be different from asking me if it's logical. Like, there's plenty of things that are logical and not true.
All right. You're muted. All right. So here we go, folks. He comes in. He wants to say that the Trinity is logical. Okay, in what sense? In the sense that I can present the exact model he has here on screen, which is logical in a strict formal sense. Okay, so does he believe this is true? Yes, he does believe it's true. Truth appeals to informal logic. So the real standard for logic is going to be something that is sound. Okay, sound, which is both formal and informal logic. Okay, so that said, here's what I would want to know from here. So how do you know that the Trinity is true? How do you know that these things represent accurate representations of what a person and a being is?
Okay, once again, that's just going to be completely off topic. I don't know why you're running to a different topic.
Oh my gosh. Of course it's off topic.
You did not ask me if it's true.
Okay.
You made the panel about whether it's logical.
Okay, here we go again. Ready? Is informal logic logic?
Okay, define informal logic.
Is informal logic logic? You already answered this once. Informal logic.
You're using informal logic in a way that means that a model has to be true and valid in the sense that it's formally consistent.
No. What, dude? All right, brother. You're not even listening. No, that's not true. Soundness refers to things that are both formally logical, right? The structure and form is perfect, and informally true, meaning the premises are true, the content value. No, I'm not saying
Yeah, I didn't
informal
dispute that.
logic
In fact,
appeal.
earlier I
Okay,
literally said I
stop,
agreed with the
stop cutting
definition
me
of
off. Stop cutting me
Dude,
off.
you're just strawmanning me.
No
You're
one's
strawmanning
no
me.
one's no one's strawmanning. Here we go. You said it's
You just
off.
I
Okay.
never denied that soundness
Oh
means that
my
the
gosh,
premises are
you
true,
guys
the
are
conclusion follows.
insufferable. You realize I can just mute you. You're insufferable. I let you finish. Let me finish. Is that too much to ask you? Okay, listen. You said the topic is it logical? That's what you said. Okay, so I said you need to meet the standard of informal logic. You said that's off topic. Okay, here we go. Very simple. Is informal logic yes or no?
Okay, you once again strawman me.
All right, listen. Is informal logic yes or no? You claimed it's off topic. That's what you claimed. And I'm proving to you it is on topic, okay? Because informal logic is logic. Okay? So, would you like to try this again? Is informal logic yes or no? You're unmuted. Going once. Is informal logic? Going twice. This is your chance to engage. If you want to win, this is how you do it. We just track this whole conversation. The Trinity is logical. Okay, in a strict formal sense. How do you know that the metaphysics you're presupposing is true? How do you know the premises are true?
Dude, that's irrelevant to the topic. I already explained this. You're
Irrelevant.
giving an idiosyncratic definition of logical here.
Okay, so is informal logic?
Under your definition, you would have to clarify what you mean by that, because the way you're defining it, you seem to think that informal logic, something being logical according to informal logic, just means that it has a true set of statements and it's formally valid.
No, it's okay.
Dude,
So
that's what you're implying the definition is. If you disagree with how I've said it, then explain your definition.
Okay, so here we go. Listen, the beautiful thing about the internet is that we can prove you wrong right now. Right now, in front of all these people. Okay, ready? What is informal logic? We're just legit gonna ask Google and watch it bake you. Okay, ready? Informal logic is the study, analysis, and evaluation of everyday arguments, reasoning, and persuasion expressed in natural language. It serves as a tool for critical focus, context, and detection of informal fallacies. Okay, so here we go. Ready? What is formal logic? What is formal logic?
Hey, why would I accept your source of Google? Why would I accept your source of Google?
Listen, Google.
Okay,
okay. So Google. This is moving. I think you're kind of you're straining at a gnat here. Google is going to be pulling from all the different resources online. We could pull up Stanford, and it's going to be saying something the same, but just in more depth, right? So what you'd have to do is reject this. Don't say that comes from Google. Say, is it wrong? That's what you need to do. Is it wrong? Okay. Formal logic is the study of arguments, inferences, and propositions using strict symbolic rules which determine validity. Okay, so informal logic and formal logic are both logic. Okay, check this out. Ready? Watch. What does it mean to be sound in logic? What's it mean?
Yeah, being sound means that there's going to be an argument. You asked me for the definition of sound. Can you say it?
I was speaking hypothetically. I'm typing it in. It's both valid, and
a true set of premises.
Yes, exactly. So then you said that you said, listen, you said that it's off the subject, right? To be saying that really to be logical, it should be affirming both. You should have a perfect model, a structure, a form, and you should be able to formulate it in a way that when you use your metaphysics, it's true, right? These are true premises, right? Logic doesn't just exist in this vacuum. It exists as a tool of finding truth, right? So what it means to be sound is that it's both good form and structure. It's valid, right? And the premises are true. Okay, so then what I'm saying is the Trinity can be formally logical. That's like probably what, the third, fourth time I've said this to you, Roy. It is.
Yeah, I understand what you wanna-
I'll concede your model. You get it. Congrats. You get it. Yes, it's informal. It's formally logical. Congrats. Okay, and I'm a bird made of green cheese. Okay, but it also, I would. Okay, so listen, that already happened a long time ago. What we're doing is getting you up to speed. Okay, you said I was off topic. Informal logic is logic.
You are. Going into the metaphysics is completely off topic.
No, it's not.
Question, you're not even letting me respond to your
okay.
argument about science.
All right. So no. Let's deal with that. What's the difference between logic and metaphysics?
Yeah, logic has to do with the principles of reasonings. Metaphysics is just the study of being.
Metaphysics is just the study of being. Did you just conflate, dude? You just conflated metaphysics with ontology. Oh my gosh, dude! Ontology is the study of the nature of being. It's literally just a branch of metaphysics. Again, you don't know what you're talking about. You come in hot and heavy. Ontology is just a branch of metaphysics. It is not metaphysics. Again, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so seeing that you don't really know the difference between metaphysics and logic, let me educate you. Logic presupposes metaphysics. It presupposes it. So your whole concept that you can just do that you
what's
can.
The argument there?
Okay,
what's
so
the argument for that?
okay, no, very simple. This is very simple. Are you ready? So let's bring up your argument. Okay, look at this right here. F equals Father, S equals Son, H equals Holy Spirit, and O equals divine substance. Okay, so what you're doing is you're assigning an identity with the object. These are the objects in your marker that you use them in really fancy ways. When it comes to the hypostatic union, it's more about polyadic predicates. But the point is that how do you know what that means? What it means for F to equal the Father unless you're also presupposing identity. That's metaphysics. That's metaphysics. I mean,
dude, asking me how I know is just going to be an epistemic question, and that's still not going to be relevant to the logical model that I gave. You're just going on irrelevant tangents.
Okay, so are you saying that logic doesn't presuppose metaphysics? Is that what you're saying?
It doesn't require it, no.
Okay, so
you don't need to give a metaphysical account to give a logical model. That's just not true.
Okay, the point is that the laws of logic are metaphysical. Okay, I just gave you one. We're talking about the law of identity. How do you even know? How can you plug in these objects into your argument unless first having an understanding of their identity, of what it means for something to be non-contradictory? Okay, does the...
Are you just asking me how I know the laws of logic are true?
Okay, does the law of identity, is that metaphysics?
No, that's logic.
That's just logic. So you're saying that the law of identity is not dealing with metaphysics. Is that your position?
If you formulate it in a logical system, then yeah, it's just logic.
Okay. The
whole point of having some formal language.
Oh my gosh. It's unbelievable trying to speak with you guys.
The reason why these logical systems were developed has in part to do with the fact that people didn't want to have metaphysical commitments with their logical systems.
Okay, so you're still sort of presupposing that logic only refers to formal logic. As I've already demonstrated, informal logic is logic, and therefore what you said is false. All right, so...
Dude, you're equivocating on logic. You're using an idiosyncratic definition of logic.
Okay, so, all right, there you go again. Are you telling me that informal logic isn't logic? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I said. I said you're using...
Okay, all right, so it's still logic. I'm still right. Your point, you're literally bad at this.
No, I'm saying that under
you're really bad at this.
Definition of informal logic, then it wouldn't be logic. But under the typical definition, it would be. Because as I said, informal logic just has to do with logic as it's... formulated in natural language.
I just can't even.
Like, for example, introduction. Okay, I mean, if you're not gonna let me give my justification, sure, but like, I don't see how that's gonna be like a fair discussion then.
No, you're
Like, I was gonna go into how exactly I'm justifying that claim.
Yeah, please do. No, I'm open to it. Of course, I'm not trying to like shut that down, Roy. I'm just sort of like laughing
Yeah,
because
sure.
because I feel like you keep saying I'm arbitrarily like assigning the meaning of informal logic, but clearly.
Can I please give a justification, or are you just gonna go on a rant? Okay.
So
cool.
who's going on a rant?
look at
Okay,
20
nah, dude. I was just being super kind to you, and that was rude. No, I'm not gonna let you come up here and berate me. You don't know the difference between formal and informal logic. Okay, you think that you can presuppose identity in an argument without using metaphysics. Okay, I mean you guys are so bad. You're brainwashed, is what you are. Now, I'm open to talk to you, but you're not going to be rude. Okay, you're not going to be rude. I just told you, no, I'm not trying to shut you down. Please, I want you to give your justification. I was just telling you why I was giggling. It's not for the reason you asserted. All right, so go ahead.
All right, so there's going to be this introduction to logic by Peter Smith, which is pretty, from what I can tell, standard, right? And the informal section just has to do with looking at the validity of certain inferences in natural language. The formal section just has to do with regimenting certain arguments within a formal system. So informal logic is just going to be logic as it relates to some natural language. It seems you even agreed to this earlier in the debate, right?
Yeah, so see listen.
Would you agree with that?
So yes, but in a very qualified sense. So let's take it like this. Let's look at your argument, right? So when you're saying that the Father is God, right? When you're saying the Father is God, is that an identity or a predicate?
In this model?
Yes.
Or are you just like in what model? Okay, yeah, in this model, it's just going to be a predicate that's specifically going to correspond to some agent noun, which I already explained when I sent the model.
Yeah, yes. So then that is an assuming an identity, right? An identity. The Father has a unique identity.
I literally said it's a predicate. I said it's a predicate.
Oh,
remember what
dude,
I said when I sent you the?
Okay, so
I sent you the model. In that model, God works as a predicate, specifically as a predicate that corresponds to an agent noun.
Okay.
This was already established in the first of the model.
Okay, so if it's a predicate, then how does that not end in multiple divine instances? Tritheism. How?
Okay, you're gonna have to give an argument. Just asking a question isn't an argument.
Oh, because if Jesus is just being predicated God, and God is in the Father is God in virtue of his nature, that's not God and God in the same way, obviously. Okay, if the Son.
How does that follow? What's the inference rule? How does that follow?
Dude,
what's the inference rule there?
Listen, if the do you disagree that the Father is God by his identity? That's an identity statement. You agree with that?
Okay, in this model, it's just going to be a statement of predication. We're just talking about the model and whether it's logical.
Oh, okay. So then, even the Father is just God by predication. Is that what you're saying right now?
Dude, I'm saying in this specific model that I've given you, that's going to be the case. God is going to be a predicate.
So
if you want to get into the idea, like if you want me to concede some form of monarchical Trinitarianism, that's going to be a theological discussion. That's not like required for this model. Like it has nothing to do with this model.
All right, so I'm going to be really charitable here. So I think the way that you're thinking of this is literally just in the notation, right? You're just predicating G to F to Father. Right. So in that sense,
right, because that's what's relevant.
Right. Yeah. So that is what you meant. Okay. So that's not what I mean. I'm talking about how these statements have meaning. Well, you said it would pertain to theology. Like, I mean, I guess we could just give it to you. That's really fine. So yes, we'll just say yes. When you're saying that the Father is God, right? Theologically, what does that mean? Right, that's what, dude. That is presupposed in your argument. Is the point? That's what this debate is really about. It's not about whether you can formalize it in a valid way on paper. The question is, does it exist in reality across time and space? Okay, if we say the Father is God, in what sense? I'm not talking about you predicating the letter G in your model, in the form or structure of your argument. I'm talking about literally, God exists, okay? Is the Father God in virtue of his nature, or is he just God through predication?
Okay, once again, these are just theological or metaphysical questions. They have literally nothing to do with the topic. I have no burden to answer the questions there.
Okay, all right.
If you
so
want to ask questions about the logical nature of the model, then like go ahead, but this has nothing to do with the topic.
all right, so Roy, correct me here if I'm wrong, but did you not say earlier that, well, Metaphysics Mike, since you conceded that it's formally logical, we can move on to the metaphysics? Did you not say that? You know I'm going to clip this,
No,
right?
I said we can move on to your definitions of like what exactly you mean by informal logic. Because you seem to have this view of informal logic in which something is going to be logical according to informal logic if it's true, meaning that it's a true set of propositions.
Okay,
But
okay.
I don't agree with that definition.
Okay, so listen, man, I have already told you that you can formalize the Trinity in a way that is logical in a strict formal sense. Do I need to say this like 8 other times? You get that. I'm
Yeah, I
literally
understand that you're
conceding. Okay, so then let's get to informal logic. Let's get to the metaphysics because that's the truth value of the claim.
Look, I don't think you're getting my point. I'm saying that by conceding that it's going to be like formally consistent, you're just conceding that it's logical. That's going to be the same thing because that's what logical means.
Okay, so listen,
Like, logical just means abiding by the
brother, you keep saying that without the qualifier. It is logical in a strict formal sense. Hello, we keep saying this, we keep going over it.
No,
so
saying something
yeah,
is
all right,
logical
all right,
simply
all right,
because
brother,
it abides by the laws of
brother,
logic.
brother.
You have idiosyncratic demands.
All right, goodbye. We're not going to keep going over this. These Trinitarians are so weak that they will not accept that there is a truth value to their claims. Okay, we are not merely discussing whether or not you can formalize an argument according to a model that's valid. That's not all they're claiming. They're also claiming that that results in truth. They're saying it's true. Okay, so this dude's argument is presupposing identity, what we even mean by saying the Father is God and not the Son. That, like, to even separate this with these operators in logic is to already have a concept of what it means. That's why he's using them. I mean, the ignorance is off the charts. These guys literally think that their view doesn't presuppose metaphysics. I mean,
that doesn't make sense.
It just doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's truly a wonder that we're even here. And when I try to be so kind and just say, listen, we're giving it to you. It's formally logical. Okay, now let's talk about the metaphysics. Let's talk about informal logic. This guy, you could hardly get him to admit that informal logic is logic. I mean, it's unbelievable trying to talk with these guys. Check this out. If this is not enough to just totally show you how crazy these guys are, right? Look at this. Okay, this is amazing right here. So we're going to share this. Come here. All right. Let's make you big. Folks, here we go. We just did this earlier in the stream. In this stream, we just did this. Okay, so like, what are formal versus informal fallacies? You ready? Folks, his view is completely debunked by the fact that there are different fallacies. Informal versus informal logic. He's trying to say that I'm arbitrarily defining informal logic as logic. Like, that's just not really logic. Of course it is. It has its own set of fallacies. Let's look at them. Let's look at some. Let's start with those because these are the more famous ones. An ad hominem, right? Attacking a person. Oh, on YouTube, they can't see this. Right? So an ad hominem is attacking the person rather than their argument. That's an informal fallacy. Okay, it's not a formal fallacy. It's an informal fallacy. Slippery slope, a straw man. That's another very famous one. He kept saying that in our engagement right now. He was just like, "You're just straw manning me." Oh, really? Was that an appeal to informal logic? Roy? Is that what that was? So the point is that informal and formal are both logic. They only can make the Trinity logical in a strict formal sense because formal logic deals in the structure. Oh, that's it. Formal logic only deals with the structure, the form, the syntax. Okay, so yes, you can create a formal system where you separate certain aspects and certain objects. In this case, it's Father, it's Son, right? And then we're also dealing with God in person. That's what, his argument. So both of them are necessary to claim the Trinity is logical. That's my point. That's the whole point. Congrats. The Trinity is formally logical. That doesn't make it true. That doesn't make it true. And I mean, just the coping that this guy just would not accept that informal logic is just as important as formal logic. Beautiful model, Roy. Beautiful. Awesome. So consistent. Its structure is just so perfect. Amazing. Yeah, it's not true. Yeah, right? Unbelievable. But that was a nice try. Let me tell you something. I love conversations like that when they're more chill than he was. When people come in a bit more chill, I'm always more apt to want to engage in that discussion. But yeah, no, there's no point in going in circles. He just wants to show how it's formally logical and then claim victory. He thinks the metaphysics has nothing to do with it. And folks, that's just dishonest. Yeah, it's formally logical, but it's not true. Of course you believe it's true. Prove that. Yeah, they can't. They had to debate about the language to even describe the metaphysics for like ever. I'm going to come look at these comments and then we're going to take on another guest. Trinity locks God in a triangle. That guy says y'all act like God is a person, not a title though. The girl board's nothing but assertions. Yeah, there was a lot there. Delta UA says formally or informally. That's what we gotta focus on. That's it. Right there. Adam Prince says W debate. Oh, look at all these coping Trinitarians down here. Look at them. Yeah, Roy, you did get a W though. Look at that. Someone gave you a W. Oh. Gojo is crying in chat still. It's so crazy, man. These guys don't know some of the most basic things. And that's like, okay, we're all learning. Like that's actually fine. What's not fine though is to come in and be acting like you're about to cook and bake. And this dude doesn't know what informal logic is or how it pertains to his view being correct. That's pretty wild. It's pretty good. All right, if you guys are enjoying this video, be sure to give it a like. I really appreciate when you guys do that. It helps more people see it. And subscribe if you haven't. We're going to go ahead and invite Thomas up. Maybe we can get to one more after this. I see that this guy, this is an apologetics guy, right? Aren't you? Have we talked before? You're pretty cool, right? Maybe we could try and get another. But Thomas was here first. What's up, Thomas? How you doing?
Hey, Mike, it's me again. How are you doing?
Good. Good. Oh, that's right, Thomas. So you're not a Trinitarian, but I know that you'll have some good comments to make. What are your comments, man? What's on your mind?
Yes, I actually just have a question about one of the comments you did make. You made a comment about the God of this world, indicating Satan and whatever. Do you believe that the title God has only to refer to a literal being in Scripture?
What do you mean?
Can it refer to something that's abstract, more of a principle?
I mean, I think the answer is just yes. Yeah, it can be used in sort of a qualitative sense. That's likely what's going on there in John chapter 1, because the first theos has a definite article, but the second doesn't, and so many think that it functions more qualitatively.
Okay.
That's why some translate it right is divine, is deity, something like that.
Okay. So it would then, like John 1:1, when it says the word was God, then you would put it in that category where an abstract principle of wisdom or plan is called God.
So that is the view that I think makes the most sense. But I've also seen a lot of scholarship that it probably wouldn't matter because again, it says word. It doesn't say Jesus. Right? It's not saying Jesus and Jesus was God. It says and the word was God. So the question is, what is the word? And if the word is an appeal to God's speech back in Genesis, we already know that's not a conscious person. Right? So this would just be like me saying like your word is human because you're a human. Right. So and there's a lot more to be said about the historical context of what the logos is, by the way, as well. So it's also being used in a real metaphorical sense that depended heavily on prior wisdom literature and even writers like Philo.
Yeah, Dustin speaks on that, so I agree with that, Dustin Smith. Just my final question would be then, if the God of this world, being the teaching is an evil being, but could it be the abstract principle of the enemy? Death is God's enemy, and so is sin. So could the God of this world actually be sin?
I would probably say no. I'd probably say no, but that is not the subject for this live debate. So I am going to go ahead and try and find maybe one more Trinitarian and go from there. But thank you again, Thomas, for coming up, sharing your thoughts with that.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, man. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Thomas is cool. He always likes to come up, give some commentary, talk about his thoughts. I like Thomas. He's chill. He's always got some good things to say. All right, we're going to invite up Kay here. I believe he's another apologist. I think we might have spoken once before. I'm not sure. What's going on, Kay?
What's up? How you doing?
All right, I'm doing well. Are you Trinitarian?
I am.
Cool. Have we spoken before?
I think on X one time. It was a while ago. I don't remember the context, like specifically.
Yes, that's how I recognize your face. Yes, I remember you. You had some choice things to say. You disagree with me. That's so funny. X. Yeah, you're very recognizable. Well, hey, thanks for joining, man. I appreciate it. Happy to talk to you. So, do you believe the Trinity is logical?
Yeah, I do.
All right. So why?
Well, first, I think there needs to be clarification on terms. Is that okay?
Of course.
Yeah. So, when you say logical, do you mean that it's just going to be denoting to a specific, like, normative principle in which we are able to validate reasoning?
So the answer is yes. And in my mind, again, that's going to be including not just formal logic. We're not just appealing to the validity of something. We're appealing to the truth value, and therefore we're appealing to soundness, ultimately. And deductive reasoning.
I guess I have two. Yeah, okay. That's valid. I have two questions, though. Because one of them's a yes or no, so you can kind of answer it. One would be, why wouldn't this include paraconsistent logic? And then the second one would be something being valid or sound would still fall under something just being logical in the sense of what I defined as something like normatively binding through like the principles of reasoning. So I don't see how that really engages with that definition I gave.
So by paraconsistent logic, are you including true contradictions in that? Is that sort of how you're sort of, is that like what you mean? That term is loaded, man. Paraconsistent logic.
It can be whatever definition you want to like refer to, but what I'm
right, and that's why I'm asking. Well, how do you mean it?
Sure, it can just mean that they just refer to that, like there can exist true contradictions within propositions, but it wouldn't necessitate that a conclusion couldn't be drawn.
Right. So then, by paraconsistent logic, you're meaning the possibility of true contradictions, essentially.
Yeah, I'm not asking about the specificities of the paraconsistent logic. I'm just asking why wouldn't that not be equally applicable if given that you want informal logic to be also like included within a formal system, if we're just talking about logic generally so far as what the definition supposes?
So, I mean, the answer would depend, right? So, if by paraconsistent logic we're talking about true contradictions, the problem is going to be that it's not a sufficient tool for defending any ordinary Christian doctrine. Like, we study the scriptures and we discern truth, and we study the church fathers too. They have a lot of great things to say at times by basically ruling out contradiction, right? So if I said that actually I'm saved only by my works, that would be wrong because it contradicts where it says that we're also saved by faith. Would you agree?
Yeah, sure.
Right. So the point is that
Yeah, but this is
the point is that
theological pragmatics, though.
Yeah, but the point is that the reason why it's not sufficient is because paraconsistent logic is really just more of a rescue device to save contradictions. So then name me any other doctrine in Christendom besides Trinitarianism where you invoke paraconsistent logic.
No, the doctrines
There
are
is
not going
there
to
is
be
none.
something-
There
Hold on.
is none.
The doctrines are not going to be necessary for this sort of argument. The LPT isn't about the sort of theological pragmatics, depending on what sort of denominational discrepancies you might have with certain doctrines, confessions, or creeds. It's going to be about the actual logical system in which this thing actually is going to be validated through normative principles of reason. So, like, just talking about, is this thing going to come have like a heresy? Are you going to have to be able to substantiate specific creeds and doctrines? Is not an argument on the table. That's not what the LPT is about.
So listen, the point is that even if there's a contradiction, all paraconsistent logic would do is say, well, my system allows for contradictions. That's all that would be doing. So that's, again, to
Did
me,
you
that's
did you
just,
understand what I said?
of course, you appealed more to heresy.
Can you steel man what I said?
So listen, you're basically saying that it wouldn't necessarily depend on what specific thing I'm referring to in paraconsistent logic. Your original question is that, can it just, like, why couldn't it be? That's really your question. Why couldn't
That's not my position. That's not my position. That's not my argument.
Okay, so then what was your original question then? Can you repeat that?
Yeah, my original question is, if you're holding that informal logic is something that has to necessarily be included alongside formal logic in order to encompass the definitional understanding of logic, given if it isn't idiosyncratic, then why wouldn't this also include other forms of logic, like other non-classical or like paraconsistent forms of logic? Whether or not we're talking about theological pragmatics and upholding specific understandings of creeds is not going to be something that's in the debate. That's not what the LPT argues.
Okay. So listen, I feel like there's a lot added onto there, but if nonetheless, I think I understand what you're saying now. So the reason why it wouldn't is because paraconsistent logic can yield true contradictions. Formal logic and informal logic does not. So, for example, would you agree that the Trinity likely isn't true if it's formally inconsistent? If your formal system has contradictions, is it true?
What theory of truth are we utilizing?
Please, I'm using truth in the basic sense. Please don't try and push this into more mysterious territory. This is already hard enough for regular people to track. Yes.
I'm not talking to regular people. I'm talking to you.
Would you say that, dude? I'm always trying to make this simple for the average person to understand. Okay, would you say that something could be formally contradictory and still true? Would you say that?
I don't hold the paraconsistent logic, no.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Right? Because obviously we understand that things that are contradictory aren't true. Yes, it is. What I'm doing is inferring why paraconsistent logic wouldn't be included the same way informal logic would be. The obvious answer is that it's because it yields true contradictions. But as we can demonstrate from just formal logic, like you just acknowledged, that we wouldn't say that things could be formally contradictory or informally contradictory and still be true or sound or valid, right? So again, paraconsistent logic gets around that by affirming true contradiction. So they're really in a different class. That's more of just a rescue, right? Formal logic and informal logic are not rescues. Those are actually presupposed by rational thought in general, right? So, like, technically, even God's nature as a rational being presupposes the existence of logic. This is Jay Dyer. This is one of the favorite reasons why I love Jay Dyer in many of his arguments, because he's really great at articulating how logic is a necessary precondition, right, to all sorts of things. So the point is that you don't have that with paraconsistent logic. There is no necessary precondition for why we must need paraconsistent logic, but there is for formal and informal.
Okay. So then, okay, so the definition, so what was your definition of logic again?
So I'm saying for something to be logical, I think it should be sound, which means that it's both formally logical, it has perfect structure and form, and the metaphysics presupposed within its premises are true. It must meet both formal and informal. Sound.
Yeah, can I get what's the justification for that? I don't believe any philosophical academics or sources like, for example, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy doesn't agree with that.
Okay, Stanford Encyclopedia does not think that premises should be true. That in order for us to,
it doesn't.
But that's what informal logic is.
No, it doesn't agree with your definition of logic as an all-encompassing sort of system in which formal and informal, in terms of the soundness of an argument, are necessarily included. By the way, that's modal language. You have to justify
that's
that modal operator.
Okay, all right. So this is actually pretty crazy. Okay, so I just want to get this right. I want to hear this out. So you're saying that in like logical debate, Stanford, they wouldn't think that the winning argument, right, whatever we're saying wins, doesn't have to be sound.
What do you mean by the winning argument? Are you talking about the truth of something? Or are you just talking about if it's appealing to the general audience?
Brother, man, should we have opened up here? This is crazy. Okay, what's the difference between formal and informal logic? Do you know?
I mean, we already went over formal logic. Informal logic is going to be like a study and evaluation of reasoning and arguments utilizing like everyday or natural language.
Right. So it's dealing with the content, with the truth value of the claims. So your statement, your statement, what's the argument that we need informal logic, is literally you just stating you don't think you has to be true.
Wait, hold on. You think formal logic doesn't have truth values?
No, it does. You see, they are inseparably related. See, that's actually my point, brother. That's beautiful that you said that, because take the last guest, for example. He thought that his argument presupposes no metaphysics. That's what he thinks. That the point is that
logic doesn't presuppose metaphysics. Metaphysics isn't, well, logic doesn't have a necessary contingency on metaphysics. No.
Yes,
that's
it
like
does.
The general, that's like the most basic philosophical consensus.
No, it's not. No, definitely there is not a consensus, and truth isn't even decided by consensus. But you really need to substantiate that. Do you want to anything else you want to say before I probe that, dude? It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, sure. What do you want me to like probe specifically? Or what do you want to probe about it specifically?
So you don't believe that logic presupposes metaphysics? You don't
what do you mean by presupposes? Like if you make some sort of logical entailment, then necessarily metaphysics are going to have to be included?
Yes, because it depends upon certain laws of logic, which themselves are also presupposing metaphysics, right? So to even do metaphysics, you have to presuppose metaphysics. It's pretty interesting. Again, this is why this is such a sufficient argument for proving God, is because these are just necessary preconditions.
Wait, do you think logic's prescriptive or descriptive?
Logic, well, it's technically prescriptive.
It's technically, wait, so you take that logic is prescriptive, it's not just descriptive of what is the fact of nature?
So maybe you're not saying that in the same sense I'm meaning it. So I don't think that logic is created. So it's prescriptive in the sense that it's objective, right? You don't think that God created logic, right?
What? Wait, what?
Did God?
Where are you getting that definition of prescriptive?
Did God create logic?
did God create logic?
Yes.
No, his nature would just be logical.
Exactly. So it's presupposed within God's nature, right? So logic is a necessary precondition. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying it's prescriptive, right? It's not, logic isn't this thing that happens
that can just
after
be
the fact. It still exists in virtue of, in this case, God's nature, right?
Wait, how does that follow? How does that? Can you syllogize that for me? For example, like how would it follow that if it's the case that God is logical and therefore God is uncreated and logic is uncreated, therefore logic is prescriptive? What is the inference rule for that?
So that's not exactly how I said it. Listen, we're kind of far in the weeds from where we originally started. The basic point is that in order to do logic, you have to have a basic understanding about what makes something discernible, what makes them different from each other, right? What makes an object distinct, what makes it identical. All of these are metaphysical, assertions, knowledge about something. So in an argument, when you're plugging in objects like father and son and person and being, that is presupposing metaphysics. Okay, that's the point. So the laws of logic assume a structure of reality. Take just the law of non-contradiction, P and not P.
What?
Yeah, the laws of logic assume
presuppose a certain structure of reality.
No, they assume a structure of reality, right? So when you say P and not P, a reality cannot.
That structure?
The point is that reality cannot be both A and not A at the same time and in the same respect, right? This phrase "same respect," when we say this, that's presupposing metaphysics. That's metaphysical language. Do you like deny that? You keep like
ironically right now.
Do you not believe that logic and metaphysics is a necessary precondition to knowledge?
Do I believe they're a necessary precondition to knowledge?
Yes. Yes.
I believe logic is just descriptive. It is just a fact of nature, as is. We utilize our reasoning to understand knowledge.
All right, brother. I'm starting to get frustrated with how non-direct you're being. Okay, is logic?
How is that not non-direct?
Is logic and metaphysics is it a necessary precondition to having knowledge? Yes or no?
They're not prescriptive, no.
Okay, so logic isn't necessary to knowledge. Okay, so then how do you know something is true?
Hey, what is your theory of justification right now?
Using logic. Logic. All right. Yeah. Are you?
Is that?
Listen. Imagine how crazy this is right now. You believe the Trinity is logical, but yet you don't believe that logic is a necessary precondition to knowledge about God. Dude, this is this. Yes, that's what you just did. That was a bake yourself moment.
I'll help you. Hold on, Mike. I'll help you out. So what I specifically was asking there is your justification theory, because you are now proposing some form of epistemology. This epistemology must have some grounding justification. What justification are you using in order to ground your theory of knowledge?
Okay, so this is why you brought up, am I running tag? And the answer is yes. To a degree I am. Because
W, now go ahead and answer my question. How is that supposed to actually engage with that? I asked you a question. It was pretty simple.
All right. So obviously, it's a necessary precondition. So this would be circular, is the point. So to try and prove logic with logic is circular reasoning. You agree with that? Okay, so it's actually the logic.
No, not necessarily. No, I believe it's recursive. I wouldn't use circular reasoning because I usually would dub circular reasoning as something that's viciously circular, which is rationally infeasible. It can be recursive as it utilizes logic to speak of logic. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's. I could probably just give that to you. I could probably just give that to you. So listen. Do you reject informal logic? Do you think that that's not a real logic, like formal logic? We just need to get back to the point here. Okay, you asked.
Yes, I believe informal logic is quote unquote a real logic. I don't get what that has to do with the point though.
Okay, so it has everything to do with it, because if informal logic is logic just like formal logic is, then in this argument, when we're saying that the Trinity is logical, what does that mean? Well, I'm saying it needs both, right? Because both are logic, right? If we're going to call it logical, and you're cutting me off, but go for it. Ask your question.
Okay. What's the argument for that? That it necessitates informal logic to be valid over formal logic for something just to be logical as defined.
Okay. The argument is essentially, I'm just whip this out. Let's create this on the spot. Okay, so informal logic deals with the truth value of claims. Okay, so it's necessary because if you don't have informal logic, then you can't say your argument's true. It's really that simple. If you believe that your argument is true, then you're going to be presupposing certain metaphysical things about identity, about objects, about what makes them discernible and different from each other. Again, I've said this like 3 times now. When you make these arguments, you literally write them out. You're using objects like father, son, person, being. These are presupposing identity. Okay, this is metaphysical language. I also told you that when we're talking about things in the same respect, or in the hypostatic union, they use the qua operator, right? In accordance with their polyadic predicates, okay? So you follow that, right? If informal logic is not combined with formal logic, then you can't say things are true, because that's what informal logic tests. That's what it is. That's what it deals with.
Okay, I see the problem. You would just be incorrect. Formal logic does deal with truth values.
Okay, so I'm not saying formal logic doesn't deal with truth values in no sense, way, shape, or form. I'm actually saying it is, and that's why it's inseparably related with informal logic. That's the point.
Your understanding, hold on, your understanding of informal logic is equivocating because you're claiming it has to be metaphysically feasible, which means it has to be true in reality. Which, by the way, that's not a metaphysical feasibility. That's actually a nomological one. So that's also like just a categorical error.
Oh my gosh.
You probably should read up a little bit more on that.
All right, so brother, this is insufferable. All right, so you're right, but that's not the argument I'm making. This is so hard to deal with. Okay, I clearly laid out.
I'm giving you an astute observation.
I clearly laid out for you that I was defining logical as being sound. Did I say that? Did I say that?
Logical is being. Are you asking me
in
that,
order
like,
for
ironically?
something to be logical, it must be sound. That was my position. I said this to you, correct? You remember that?
Yeah, that would just be an idiosyncratic definition. Yeah.
It's an idiosyncratic definition, bro.
Do you know what that means?
Yes. Look, why don't you take right now? Why don't you do yourself a favor and Google right now, what does it mean for something to be sound? Okay, that's what you need to do.
Idiosyncratic.
Oh my gosh, dude. This is what I was just saying before you even got on here. Man, I said that you guys want to not answer questions. You want to dance around. This is just waffling. Okay? I've asked you a straightforward question, man. I don't understand why you can't answer it. I know, and you asked me to define idiosyncratic. I was already asking you something.
Dude, okay, I don't know what this like weird postulating is, but I need you to actually engage with the substance. I'm saying it's idiosyncratic, and you said it's not, and I'm trying to clarify if you understand what the term idiosyncratic means, so that you're not just saying something like ignorant.
It means it's like unusual.
Okay, and do you believe it is not the case that the definition of logical equals sound? Do you think that's not like an atypical utilization within philosophical inquiry?
Is informal logic logic?
That's not what I just said.
Okay, yeah. I'm not engaging with the substance, but you're not answering my questions repeatedly. Is informal logic logic?
Are you debating like an alternate reality of me? Did I say that?
Oh my gosh. Answer the question. Is informal logic logic?
Mike, dude, what is, oh my goodness. I don't know who you're debating. I never said that. What is this weird, like, schizophrenic rant you're going on?
Dude, it's a schizophrenic rant. Bro.
Yes, because nothing that left my mouth said anything like that. I said, do you think that the definition of logic just equaling sound logical equaling sound is not an atypical utilization within like typical philosophical inquiry in this specific context.
And
I don't know where you started
and
getting the rest of that other like jargon from.
well, listen, I'm so sorry, but you're not tracking why it's relevant, because really you have a predisposition towards the Trinity. You have a prior commitment that's blinding you in this moment. Okay, the reason why you should answer is because if
this doesn't appeal to
because
psychoanalyzation.
okay, here
Deal
we
with the
go.
substance.
Here we go. I am dealing with the substance. Okay, if informal logic is logic, then it's quite reasonable to think that when we call something logical, that it would include informal logic. Just mind blown. All right, you're out of here, dude. Goodbye. I'm sorry, guys. That he was being very rude. He thinks that because he doesn't understand why it's relevant, that means that I'm just psychoanalyzing him and I'm not engaging with the substance. This bro is literally saying that informal logic is saying that is just as important as formal logic is idiosyncratic. If informal logic is logic, then it's quite reasonable to think that when we call something logical, it would include informal logic. I know, I just so crazy, right? So crazy. Unbelievable. That's going to be the last one. Dude, I genuinely try. Chat, I want you to judge me right now. Okay, am I wrong for dropping him at that point? Do you guys think I'm wrong for dropping him? I just, what's the point? Why keep going over this? We'll go in these circles over and over. It's so ridiculous.
What's up, Mike?
Like, what's up, Trey? I mean, can you imagine being told that by somebody with a straight face? You're just, informal, combining informal logic with logic is idiosyncratic.
Right.
And I'm the weird one.
You talked to this guy, I think you had him on a while ago, but Roy, I've been kind of going back and forth in the chat with him about this. And he seems to think that model construction, because it doesn't necessarily, this is disputable by the way, but he seemed to think that constructing a model doesn't rely on deductive reasoning, therefore informal fallacies are irrelevant. I mean, all forms of reasoning, I should say this, informal fallacies are relevant to all forms of reasoning. Like any form of reasoning could be informally fallacious, right? So your model construction is not immune to informal fallacies. I'm not sure what I don't understand why this is so hard to get.
Yeah, what's hard to get is that they want to wholesale logic as just formal, because then they just win. You see, if they narrowly define logic to just being formal logic, they know they meet that criteria. And so all the Trinity is logical. LPT out the window, all of their engagements out. That's why.
Well, so Roy here is granting that informal logic is a form of logic. He's just saying it's irrelevant because I'm not making deductive arguments. It's a model construction, so it couldn't be informally fallacious, of course. But here's the thing. All forms of reasoning can be fallacious.
Yeah, correct.
Also to claim that constructing a model doesn't involve any form of deduction whatsoever, I think is also disputable. He says that I'm strawmanning him right now, but he
Dude, these guys don't get it because they don't want to get it. Because that straight up, that's what's going on here. I have his argument showing up here again. So he literally says it right here. F equals Father, S equals Son, H equals Holy Spirit, O equals divine substance. He has GX equals X is the energeia token of energeia type signified by word of God. And this guy thinks he's not doing metaphysics. I mean, it's unbelievable. X is a divine. He said,
or any deduction whatsoever.
yeah, he said HX is a divine hypostasis. No metaphysics? What's a hypostasis? How does how does a subsistence relate to other persons who are also God but not each other? I mean, they don't get it because they don't want to get it. You want to know why they can't discover informal logic? They can't discover it for the same reason a thief can't discover a cop. All right, because they know the moment they do, it's right to jail.
Bruh.
Right? They lose. They lose. I mean, just imagine I'm granting it to him. That Roy, I was telling him, okay, you get it. It's formally logical. And then he just wants to shut down the conversation. He's like, there we go. We win. Concession. That's it. We win. Sorry, that's not how this works. You still have to demonstrate how when your premises flesh out into the real God, the living God, the God that exists, which is real, which is three persons, which consists of three persons that share the numerical same essence, right? You have to justify those things. That's why they even come up with other concepts like relative identity. Okay, I also mentioned the qua operator. Like, all of these things are necessary in order to say it's true. We're not really saying it's just logical. So.
Right, and I can't get over the fact that I don't understand why he thinks I'm strawmanning him. I'm talking about Roy again, because I'm talking about this. Again, he seems to grant that there is such a thing as informal logic, but it just doesn't apply to model construction. And it's like, what? In order to construct a model, you have to reason. In order to reason, right, you have to ensure you're not doing that fallaciously in some way, either formally or informally. I don't understand what the disconnect is here. Looks like somebody wanted to ask a question, the real Jared.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm telling you exactly what it is. It's that if they concede that informal logic is necessary for the truth value, right? To say it's true, right? They just want to say it's formally logical, therefore it just must be true, right? No, that's not how this works. Informal logic, like, it's so important. It has its own branch in logic. It has its own set of fallacies. So if they concede that's binding on them, that's too big of a burden for them to bear, because the metaphysics of the Trinity is convoluted and depends upon Middle Platonism and all sorts of things. But yeah, no, that was going to be the last guest. I brought you up because I know you're a Unitarian. I think Z-Blade is also a Unitarian, if he wants to say some comments too. But yeah, it's late. We're about to tap out. Z-Blade, can you hear me?
Sounds good, man.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you got any comments you want to make?
Quick one, actually. I just want to apologize for all the hostility I've just seen a lot in the chat and stuff like that. Yeah, I just don't understand why people can't just be civil. Maybe it's just me being idealistic or something, but it's always just very disheartening and kind of surprising to me whenever I see that. It's like, how can people be that way, you know? And I even disagree with you on stuff too. We've even talked about that, but I would never like go into like, oh, you're bad because of this. And it's like, no. So, boy.
Yeah, I should actually probably take that off. If there's some people in here, you know what, Z-Blade, we should make you a mod.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we should.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, well,
but I mean, if you want to.
I'm not sure if I can do that here, but yeah, we should add some more mods for people to moderate chat. If some people are oh, I see B talking about so listen, I
mean, there's some.
Nini says
there's
some of them are hilarious.
There's some, like there's, don't get me wrong, there is some good people, Trinitarians and Unitarians alike. I like those. I just don't like the hostility. I really don't. So yeah.
Yeah, if people are being too much, they will have to get kicked. Listen, I got a little worked up in this. Facts. I see some people saying that. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard to, be patient with people when they're dodging questions, when they're being kind of rude, when they just want to treat you like you're dumb, when in fact they just lack knowledge of something. They lack a greater understanding. I mean,
Yeah.
like just the way both these guys treated me when I asked them if
Oh, one
informal
person's saying
logic
we're
is
not being
logic.
rude. I understand. I understand there. Like, there are some people that are not trying to be rude. I'm not saying that. Because someone commented just now, like, look,
Just now.
it's just what I'm seeing. All right? Like, I don't know. Like, you know.
Yeah. So.
But anyway, you can continue.
Yeah. So it's, again, Broken, I don't even know who you are. I'm not saying you're being rude. I'm saying the people who joined were being rude. That kid, you should have seen the things that guy said to me on X. He's just rude. He got mad at me for calling out Than for posting inappropriate photos in his Discord. He got called out by the Muslim metaphysician, and I was like, ain't no way that this is real. How is it Muslims calling out this behavior, but Christians in their own sphere aren't? He got mad at me for that. That last guy who was just on, he was responding to me, telling me how, I'm just placing, there's no point to really get into it. The point here is that what I was saying is just how they responded to me saying is informal logic. They told me I'm psychoanalyzing him. I'm not addressing the substance. That's just gaslighting. Again, imagine, I can't even imagine doing this to somebody. Right. How do you know informal logic pertains to the term logical? I don't know. How about when it's called informal logic? How about that, right? Like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. But overall, it's not our job to judge these guys. We got to do our best to love them and keep it pushing, right?
Yeah.
As we can with love. Well, hey, if you guys have any other comments, you can say them now. If not, we're going to close out.
Yeah, I think I'm good now. Thanks.
Hey, well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, later, guys.
Amen.
Appreciate you guys. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this live. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to remove the Discord. It was good. I think we had some good guests. I think we got some... Oh my gosh, some of these guys are just insufferable to talk to, but hey, even that's good too, right? We got to show the truth that yes, for the Trinity to be logical, it can't just be formally valid, but it must be informally true, right? It can't be fallacious, and that's what it means to say something is sound. Right? So the Trinity can be formally logical, but still unsound. Yeah, just like that. That's the point. And I think that got to come out today in these discussions. And I see all of you guys here. I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for coming tonight, guys. Watching. Sticking around. We've been going for, what, how long has this been? Almost 4 hours. It's a long stream. It's good. Let's bring up some of these comments. We got a good night from Codex. Good night, good night. Holocaust survivor. Oh, he's challenging it. He says it's still not even formally logical. Ooh, okay. Your lead says looking forward to the next. Uncasuality. That's it. That's the good old Albie one-liner. Uncasuality. Making up words. Truth Matters says thanks, Mike. Yo, thank you. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. A little worked up, but it's good. All right, yep. That's going to do it, guys. Again, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to do these every Wednesday night consistently. Hopefully, we'll be able to add a second day to that. But I'm also trying to do some other filming, some other cool ideas. Shout out to all my channel members for supporting my channel. Thank you guys again. Man, there's so much I want to show you guys. There's so much, God willing, I'll be able to do. And I just think it's going to be good. I'm just trying to find new and creative ways to reach people. I'm also doing a lot of trying to just grow in my personal relationship with God, guys, to be honest. I really think what matters most is our devotion to God and to the one Lord, to Jesus Christ, right? Our ruler, our owner, our master. I want to be more like Christ. And, so obviously I'm still a work in progress. And that's also something I'm working on. I want to show you guys that I can grow in my character, that we can have these discussions and good things can come of it, right? Not bitterness, not envy. It's tough with some of these guys, but that's the goal. And I'm trying. And I appreciate my channel members for believing in me. You guys being here, that means so much. Visit One God Merch if you want to check out some Christian merchandise. And God bless to every single one of you. Love you guys. See you next time.